Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Not much, Tyler. How you doing?
Johnny, I'm doing all right. Got my coffee here. It's another morning episode. You got something to talk about that's more interesting than my coffee? Let's go. I was just going to talk about how you can't...
I was just going to say, I know. I'm trying to bail you out. I know I did the thing to you, but look, it's just polite to ask how the other person is doing.
Yeah, but that always throws the ball back to me. So now I'm throwing it back to you, Johnny. What interesting anecdote do you have to lead us into our episode?
You want to know what I'm doing? You're sitting here having a nice morning, and I'm trying to cleanse my soul with bleach, like mental bleach in my ears and my eyes. Because this episode, it sure is something. This episode, if you don't know, the title of this episode is called Meanwhile in Japan. Kind of.
It's not. No, we have plenty of great American games to talk about. And you know what? Maybe you shouldn't even buy some of the Japanese games we talk about.
No, you definitely should not probably buy some of these games that we are talking about, even if they're historical.
We'll get to it. Do you want to give like a content warning? If we're just going into the episode, we actually might need a content warning for this episode.
Hey, listener, this episode is going to feature mature themes and language beyond our normal F words and whatever things we allude to. Probably don't have your kids around while you're listening to this one. Also, if you are not into things that talk about depictions of sex or sexual content, this episode is not for you. Because we are covering adult-themed games. And some of that, requires we talk about things in a graphic nature.
I do like how the word adult has come to just mean pornography, because we were just talking about Conflict on NES, a game about war, a strategy war game. And it's like, that is an adult theme. Two nations are going together and sending their poor people to murder each other.
And but children, don't forget the children who will be dead.
Yeah, like, the families will be ripped apart. There will be murdered civilians as a result of Conflict on NES. But adult game basically just means boobies.
Yeah.
It's the most mature thing, because when you think of mature things, it's like, oh yeah, boobies.
Well, no, here's the thing, Tyler. What you don't understand is boobs and sex are only for adults, and the murder and death of children is for everyone.
Well, Johnny, as we will discuss, perhaps boobs and sex are not only for adults in Japan.
Oh. Man, Japan is wild, guys. Just, like, I went into this episode, and one of the things, like, Tyler, he's got some of the history stuff on lock. He's like, hey, Johnny, go look at the modern stuff. And, I did that. And I learned new things, and none of them do I enjoy.
I mean, I've only been interested in like Atari and NES level adult video games, so I'm interested to learn how garbage things have truly gotten. It's crazy to me that on like mainstream Nintendo Switch, their current console, you could just get like weird hentai games now. I'm sure they're not like super explicit. They're probably like jokey, stupid, topless type games, but still
maybe.
All right, you tell me about it.
I sent you a game called Waifu Uncovered, remember?
I mean, does that have full frontal nudity? I mean, I'm sure it doesn't have sex on a Nintendo console.
No, that's like images. And then the other one, like Perky Little Things, that one's censored. Oh, I'll get there. We'll get there at the end of the episode.
Johnny, let's start at the beginning then.
Yeah, we're gonna start in the beginning, and kind of work our way through. Well, yeah, it's a brief timeline. This is in no way a complete and total, chronological order of every adult themed game, sex game that came out. We're not really touching too hard into PC either, which is, it's a whole, like, we could spend, how many episodes could we spend there? Like, and we're not going into everything in Japan, because if we did that, we could have a podcast just based on those things. So we're not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
Johnny, I think adult games are super interesting because porn basically launched VHS as a medium. Porn is why VHS beat Betamax, but adult games basically don't exist. there are games that are just murder simulators. You got your manhunts and I don't even know. I was going to say Condemned Criminal Origins. That's not really a murder simulator, but just like regular Call of Duty. The premise of playing Call of Duty is you're running around with like 15 of your friends murdering each other. And that's just like the most normal basic bitch game that you could possibly make, is put people in an arena and have them murder each other. And adult themes like pornography and sex are just the things that video game developers do not touch at all. Like in the 80s, it was saloon doors with Atari games, and then past that, it just doesn't exist. So it is just one of the rarest themes for video games, at least outside of Japan, which is why they are interesting, I think, especially the Atari games, which, maybe the most porn we've ever got was on Atari, which is very funny.
I mean, it launched VHS, like you said, but it also cemented DVD. It made sure that Blu-ray was the format of choice. Like a lot of porn is such a large industry. And then it's, often put off into like this, like, this quiet corner that people don't want to reference and act, but it's gigantic. It's like trying to cover a mountain range with a tissue. I don't understand what's happening, but that's how we act here, especially in America.
I guess we just want to be really private about it, because you look at like the list of like the 100 most visited websites on the internet, and it's like, oh, okay, it's like all porn except for Wikipedia and Google. And then you look at like the list of the top 100 selling video games, and there's none of it. It's
Mario, super wholesome. Tyler, I guess we can get into it, right? Yeah, we all know that porn is not often talked about, and the way it was approached, especially in America early on, was pretty quaint.
Perhaps this is not the first game with adult themes. I don't know what this is.
No.
But the first game you might find is Soft Porn Adventure on the Apple II, which, despite having literally the word porn in its name, it's not a porn game. It's not like an adult game. It's basically Leisure Suit Larry. And it's a text adventure game, probably most notable for being a very early Sierra game and for having Roberta Williams topless in a hot tub on the cover. It's actually kind of weird how early this is in Sierra's history. So there's like Mystery House, the first graphic adventure game of all time. And there's like a couple other games. And this is just like, there's only a couple games before that and Soft Porn Adventure. So they revolutionized the adventure game genre. And they're like, man, we've got to make a funny porn game. Like right away.
Yeah. And you said that it's like, and that they're in the hot tub too. Like that, it's a weird thing. The most porn thing about it is definitely the cover, though.
And it's like raunchy sex humor. It's like it's the 80s
Leisure
version
Suit
of
Larry.
American Pie in a video game, kind of.
And like this will be a common theme. And it's a prevailing theme. You might say that Leisure Suit Larry is the first Eki game, Tyler.
Okay. Whatever. I mean, wouldn't this be that then?
Yes. Yes. This and Leisure Suit Larry, but this is basically Leisure Suit Larry. So
yes. So I didn't even know this, but Soft Porn Adventure was not just the basis for it was basically remade into Leisure Suit Larry. So Soft Porn Adventure is it's a text adventure, and Leisure Suit Larry is obviously a graphic adventure. But it's considered like part of the same DNA. It's not just like an inspiration.
True.
Anyway, as a kid,
hey,
go ahead.
I want to just clarify something, because if you're like me and you're like, what the hell did Johnny say? An Eki game? What is that? Oh, let me tell you. Basically, that's a slang term in Japan. Anglified slang term that means like playful sexual action. You like in a game that, sometimes there's nudity or fan service, which then means making women nude, not like Boba Fett in episode 1 or in episode 2. Not that kind of fan service. This means making attractive waifus nude. So that's what this fan service is. So a playful sexual adventure that maybe does not show genitalia or actual intercourse. That's an Eki game. So think visual novels. That's like all these visual novels that are like on the Vita and everywhere now on the Switch.
Nurse Love
That's
Addiction.
This type of game. Yes. Senran Kagura and a bigger one. Here's a bigger one, like Catherine. Catherine is considered one of these. And this was a big game that isn't just like a visual novel on the Vita. you can find this on the Switch, on the PS3, right? Where it started. So, and even Catherine too.
Shout out to Gen Z as the boomer over here figures out Japanese hentai terms. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm an old man and was like, oh, what the hell is this word? I'm sorry. I didn't know, so I'm just clarifying it. We have some other old people who listen. For all those people going,
oh
like,
yeah, I know. We've got
idiot.
plenty of old people who listen too. So thank you for clarifying.
I'm sorry that, look, if you know this and you're like, oh man, Johnny is old. Yes, I'm old, and I'm not like into Japanese porn stuff. Sorry. This is, you can tell I'm not over there because this is a new word to me. So the fact that Tyler knows, I don't know, says a little bit about him.
I'm sure does, Johnny.
All right.
Johnny, soft porn adventure. I'm going to say $1,000 plus. It is a very collectible Apple II game. I'd say the cover is iconic of the three women in a hot tub with like kind of the waiter standing next to them.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people played this after like the Apple II was a thing just because of the name. The name sounds so enticing to the average 13-year-old boy on an abandonware website. I don't know how I would know that as someone who might have played this when I was 13 years old searching through abandonware websites. But yes, I would call this an iconic game. Also, just like 1981, this is earlier than anything else we're going to talk about. Very cool game.
Yeah, and you forgot that there's the computer in the background of the waiter. Well, that's the other.
It might be an Apple II.
It is an Apple II, but I think that's pretty cool. Also there's alternate versions of the cover too. Like there's images that are alternate versions of it. I don't know where those come from, but yeah, they're out there. You can see it. This is a cool game. Would you buy this game, Tyler?
100%. Like it wouldn't be my priority just because to get a nice copy is probably $1,500 or something. So it wouldn't be prioritized, but this is definitely on my one-day list.
It's on my one-day list too. It has been for a while. Pretty cool. Pretty interesting. And we're not going to talk about, we're not talking about the Leisure Suit Larry games. They don't quite meet the level that we want to get to.
I don't think, like, soft porn adventure doesn't really qualify as an adult porn game either.
No.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry, as a kid, I thought that was like, oh man, this is the game for adults. And Leisure Suit Larry humor is like Porky's. It is like the dumbest sex comedy guy down on his luck who can't get a date type humor. There's nothing sexual about Leisure Suit Larry. It's just a funny game.
Yeah, it's raunchy. I think raunchy is the right word for this, but it doesn't quite rise to the level of like full adult game. As
a kid, downloading random games off Kazaa, like I downloaded multiple Leisure Suit Larry games, Johnny, and I played them for hours. And I was like, where is the nudity? I don't understand. Isn't this an adult game? My brain had not formed enough for the concept that a game can be like entertaining and funny and raunchy without being like a game with nudity and sex in it. So I didn't enjoy the Leisure Suit Larry games until I was an adult, and I'm like, oh, these games are kind of funny.
I was shown this game when I was 15 years old. No, 15. No, I just turned 16. And I was shown this. No, maybe I was 15. I was like right in that cusp. I was shown it by a girlfriend at the time. She's like, you have to see this game. It was my stepdad's. And I was like, okay. And, she's showing me and she's like, yeah, it's pornography. And I'm like, okay. It's like, sure. And then I'm like, what? No, this isn't. What is this? I'm like, this is, you have, you don't know what pornography is what I learned when she told me that.
I mean, well, I don't blame her because anything that is like actual porn as a video game, like it's so obscure, like you couldn't possibly know it existed until you were an adult. So anything that had like a hint of raunchy content, it's like, wow, this is the craziest video game I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of it out there, but this isn't it. Anyways,
Johnny, I do want to transition into some other computers. Okay. Mostly, let's talk about some early Japanese computers, the Sharp X1, the PC 8801. And I want to tell everybody that all of their favorite Japanese companies are fucking perverts.
Hey, do you love Square? Do you love Enix? Hey, guess what? Think about it for maybe a minute. put them in your heart now and maybe plug your ears if you don't want to hear some of this stuff.
And I just want to say a lot of this information in English is not easy to find. And I've said this before, like it's hard to find a true list of every game Hudson Soft ever published. They just published so many games in the early 80s and it's just not well documented for some reason, especially in English. So some of these games are just difficult to find information about unless you're digging into like Japanese Google. But like maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe the companies, like huge companies like Square Enix, don't want you to know that they were making fucking messed up games in the early 80s. So, Johnny, let's go in semi-chronological order here. And I'm just gonna touch on the highlights of some of your favorite companies here.
Highlights?
The highlights.
Are they highlights?
Johnny, 1982, Hudson Soft. Hudson Soft, you know them, you love them. The Hudson Bee, Bomberman, Bonk. They've made delightful games, colorful games, games that everybody loves.
Games for kids.
High quality games, like constant stream, like they don't make bullshit. They're responsible for the TurboGrafx 16.
They feel family friendly.
Johnny, Lolita Yakyukin.
Oh God, that's too family friendly.
Probably the first visual novel that ever existed. Probably the first like true adult game that ever existed. And it's I don't know exactly the plot of it, but it's like a visual novel about undressing little girls, Johnny. Fucking Hudson Soft made this.
So here's a tip. If the word Lolita is in the title at all, just you're not going to find. Hopefully, you're not finding what you're looking for. Because if you are, knock knock, it's the FBI.
So like maybe don't buy that game. Like looking into it a little bit, like it seems like frustratingly historical. like maybe it's the first visual novel even. Like oh God damn it. Maybe don't buy that. I did not even try to look up prices of that.
You shouldn't try to look that up.
Johnny, Koei, 1982, their first game. I think it's their first ever game. Nightlife. No, actually, it might be like in their first kind of round of games. But it's like a PC sexual wellness program for couples. It's got a period calendar that like tells people the best time for women to be fertile. And most importantly, the most interesting thing you'll find when you look up a YouTube video of it, it's got like a Kama Sutra of sexual positions. This is Koei, who makes Dynasty Warriors. This is one of their first games they ever made.
I mean, at least it seems wholesome.
There's nothing fucking weird about this one. So let's maybe move on. I will say, like, definitely buy this. It's probably going to cost you more than $500. It's a pretty rare game. I'm looking for one. It's a cassette, but it comes with an outer box. And finding just the cassette is hard enough, but to find it complete, I would definitely expect to pay more than $500 for that. All right, Johnny, let's get into the messed up shit again with the most messed up company in this fucking episode. It's Enix. Enix, what the fuck were you doing in 1983?
Enix, makers of Dragon Warrior?
The makers of Dragon Warrior. Yes. The early history of Enix, they had it's like a programming contest. I forgot the exact details because I don't have it in front of me, but I believe they put out like ads in like programming magazines, and if you submitted a game that was good enough for Enix to publish, they would give you like $10,000. Two of these games that won, one or two of these won, and another one was like an early published Enix game. I don't remember. But there's Lolita Syndrome and Mari-chan's Close Call, which are two similar games about not only undressing little girls, but watching them die horrible deaths with buzzsaws and knives. So these are...
What the fuck?
These are just fucked up video games. And these are like the first video games Enix ever published. So it's got things like Strip, Rock, Paper, Scissors, which fantastic. Something you should definitely be playing. But also, like, you look up screenshots of this game, which, like, I don't know, maybe don't. And you'll just see, like, a little girl in underwear being exploded, absolutely exploded by a buzzsaw. Enix published this, the makers of Dragon Warrior. This was something that normal people went and bought in stores in Japan.
Also, they looked at a bunch of other games, Tyler. So if there was something that was too extreme and it didn't make it, but this did, I just like this. They also had a bunch of other probably hopefully normal choices and were like, No, this is the one.
So if you've played Door, it's just like, it's a arcade platform game. Like, it's a delightful game. That's another one of the games that won this contest. Like, I just wonder if the people who are submitting games to this contest were like, well, I'm not going to be able to compete with all these like great platform games, these like colorful, exciting games people are making. So I'm just going to make like the most hardcore, messed up shit ever, and my entry will stand out. And the people at Enix were like, oh yeah, this really stands out.
So weird.
All right. Nihon Falcom. Let's give a little golf clap to them because they did not make a messed up game. They made Joshi Dyson Stripper, which is called Private Stripper in English. And all it is like a tile sliding puzzle game where you match tiles into naked ladies. Thank you, Nihon Falcom, for not encouraging like committing crimes or something. And then Square, all these every Japanese company, let me tell you, you go early enough, they made porn games. But Squaresoft, I think you have to go back to like 1986. They have Alpha, which seems more like a real game. It's some kind of visual novel. Definitely has like naked girls in it because of course, but it doesn't seem like fucking messed up like the other ones. So I don't know. I think we're maybe giving Square a pass. I don't know a lot about this game, but Hudson Soft and Enix, they got some explaining to do. Like the people who made those games are probably still alive, and we need to find out what happened.
What? Yeah. So weird.
So, anyway, Private Stripper, 1983, that's probably kind of expensive just because of how early it is. I think Alpha comes up 1986. Out of the ones you should even consider buying, I think Nightlife is far and away the most interesting and is going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah. So, like, I know people are going to say, cultural differences. And yeah, I get that. But also, no. I'm not giving a pass based on just cultural differences here on some of these games.
Absolutely.
Like any of the ones with the name Lolita in the title. No. Just no, guys. No.
I mean, it's the violence and the gore on top of that too. It's just
it's all of it, Tyler. It's the whole package. Not interested. Yeah, fucking it's just wild.
And we're talking
Japan
like
PC
wild. 8001 game. This isn't like, I don't know, like Atari where like you could show like a few pixels come in half. They like someone sat there and they just like drew a bunch of red lines exploding these people with buzzsaws.
Just like this in the Super Bowl, a nipple was once shown and fucking we had a moral crisis. Meanwhile, in Japan,
do we want to move on to the golden age?
Quaint. Let's move to America. Let's give you America's version of the early 80s compared to Japan's.
It is so much. Oh, it's almost so much better until we get to Custer's Revenge.
Yeah, I mean, there's things in here that deserve the controversy points that they have. But basically, in the 80s, we moved to Atari. So we've talked about these before, but if you're familiar, there's this company called Mystique. They made these porn games for Atari. It was an offshoot of a porn film studio, Caballero Control Corporation. In their 2 years of existence, they published several games under Swedish erotica, even though these were all created in America. That like Swedish was a thing that was added to stuff to make it sound sexy or give it connotations. So that's why that happened. Anyways, in 1983, Mystique went under, and then they were purchased by Play Around Games. And that's when they created some of the gender swapped versions or sex swapped versions of the game, and they became double enders, the most appropriate double enders ever created. Just wonderful.
Boom,
and these are all unlicensed. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, how wonderful is that they made these double enders? It's just like making the games a physical double entendre is perhaps the best thing ever. For comedy sakes. Anyways, there's a list of them: Bachelor Party, Beat 'em and Eat 'em, Custer's Revenge, and then Gigolo. And we can talk a little bit. These were the original Mystique titles before they got combined into the double packs. And there's two to really talk about here. I think Custer's Revenge and Gigolo. I'll talk a little bit about Custer's Revenge. If you don't know about Custer's Revenge, you are a naked Custer who is taking his revenge on the Native Americans by traversing a flat plane that arrows are raining down on. You have to avoid those to get to a Native American woman who is tied up on the other side so you can rape her.
So this was controversial even when it was I mean, obviously when it was released, but like you would think this is just like released by like, and everyone is just like, well, we're going to ignore that this ever existed. But no, this did cause a controversy when it was released. And the developer of Custer's Revenge argued that that Custer wasn't raping the Indian, basically, but she's tied to a post and her friends presumably are shooting arrows at you. So yes, he fucking is.
Yeah. He's not raping her. She's just tied up and people are trying to kill you to prevent you from doing it.
Without Custer's Revenge, like, all these games are so fucking stupid and delightful. It makes us look so much better than Japan, and then we have fucking Custer's Revenge, and it's just like this horrible game. But I think, like, Notorious and, like, I've bought a copy of Custer's Revenge. I think it's a historically controversial game because it's fucking awful. And kind of all of these aren't expensive. Even Custer's Revenge, like all of these are in like the $100 to $200 range, and like the lower end of that range, I think.
Yeah, and it depends how nice, and you can even still find sealed ones.
There's a lot of new old stock of a lot of these. Like some of them are rarer than others, but a lot of these are don't overspend for these, thinking you're getting something exciting.
And again, these are Atari games, so these are like the blurriest blurry pixel depictions ever. Like in Beat 'em and Eat 'em, you can tell what's going on, and that's like a man is ejaculating down into like what is a woman who basically has a flip top head. You control the two women on the bottom, and you're trying to catch the seed before it hits the ground. A ridiculous game, but even that, like you can kind of tell, but it's so blurry and pixelated. It's like okay, it's quaint more than it is offensive to me.
That's why I love these games. Like, they're funny. Beat 'em and Eat 'em. I was trying so hard for this to be like the first, like I was researching the actual release date to like try to find that this was the first female protagonist video game. I don't think it is. I think it's Wabbit for the Atari 2600, but this is like almost definitely the first game with two female protagonists.
Yeah. You play the females. It is your job down there to catch the sperm.
Yeah, and Bachelor Party, that's a game, it's Breakout, but you play as a boob. Just the weirdest, like, who even thinks about, who was, like, sitting down to program Atari games and they're like, what if we ripped off Breakout, but you play as a boob?
That's a very weird idea.
And then Gigolo. I think Gigolo is super interesting because Gigolo targeted at women, right? Was it? Oh, I don't remember. What's the gender-swapped version of Gigolo?
I don't know if Gigolo had a gender swap version because it's packaged with Bachelorette Party.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. But like, yeah, so that's a porn game targeted at women on Atari in like 1983 or something, which is like, who is gonna fucking buy that? Who is the market for this? Like talking about like video games in general, and then you get the subsection of porn games, which we've already gone into like 0.1% of the market who would ever buy this, and then you're targeting women on top of that. It's like, yeah, unsurprisingly, Gigolo is the rarest game out of any of these that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, was it targeted, like, was that a feint though? Was it targeted at women, but really it was targeted at gay men who couldn't be out at the time?
I don't think so. Cause on the cover, you've got like the slick looking guy in the suit, and then there's women behind him. If I remember the gameplay, it's like I don't know what type. It's almost like a maze game where you like walk around to different houses and have sex with people in the houses. And it's gotta be, it's not a gay game. Okay. We'll do another episode on the history of LGBT games, which will have less horrible things happening in them, I think, for the most part.
Okay. Also, like, continuing that targeting, like, we're just jump around to it. But yeah, being that it also got packaged with Bachelorette Party by Playaround, like they doubled down on that, and a lot of times people, that just wasn't very common. They were like, we're really going for this market, which is weird and interesting.
I think that these are interesting games that are like not super rare and not super expensive, and absolutely probably out of anything we're going to talk about, Like, I don't know. Get Beat 'em and Eat 'em. It's a hilariously named game with a hilarious theme. Everybody involved in the beating 'em and eating 'em is taking place in a consensual activity. So you know what? Go get Beat 'em and Eat 'em.
Yeah, do it. Pretty funny.
John, you got a couple more here?
Yeah, well, we get to the play around games. So this is the part where now these games have been bought by Play Around and they get packaged in the double enders. We have Bachelorette Party and Burning Desire. We have Philly Flasher and Cat House Blues. Lady in Waiting packaged with Beat 'em and Eat 'em, and Gigolo packaged with Bachelorette Party. Are we sure? Was Burning Desire, was that with Bachelorette Party or with Bachelor Party?
It might have been with Bachelor Party.
That sounds...
Yeah. And again, I think Gigolo is going to be the rare one here because,
yeah,
it's obviously the odd man out. Get it? Oh,
yeah, hey, you got it. All right, well, levity to take you away from everything we talked about in Japan and Custer's Revenge. Anyways, there was also more. So there's also a game called X-Man, very popular amongst people in Atari collecting because, hey, it was kind of expensive and it was also a porn game. And Tyler, you've got these things go for like $1,000 sealed and maybe just like a little less than that for CIB copies.
It's kind of weird because X-Man has always been a really rare Atari game, but then there's also like cases of it that have come to market. So it's one of those things where like, how do you price a game where like it might be easier or just as hard to get a sealed copy as a complete in box copy? Because complete in box is that rare, and only so many people on planet Earth are interested in owning a sealed copy of X-Man on Atari 2600. So I bet the price floats around a lot, but yeah, it's some amount of thousands of dollars sealed and probably, I don't know, $1,000 complete in box.
It suffers the same thing that like Speed Racer, Exertainment Mountain Bike Rally suffers. Like
exactly,
you've got this weird, mostly sealed market for it. And then, I mean, but at least that was always known as a collector's item, so that's always like kind of been in the know. I think a lot of people have heard about that. Here's one that doesn't get...
Hold on. No, keep talking about X-Man. Where does the title X-Man come from, Johnny?
Oh, yeah. This is my favorite because it's a pun. So what you do in X-Man is you run around a maze and you have to avoid scissors, Tyler.
Scissors and like those chomping teeth, like that toy thing?
Yeah, the wind-up teeth. You are a pixel sprite of a man with what would be a gigantic dick that is just out in front of you. The scissors and the teeth are working to, if they hit you, they're going to take your dick from you. They're going to cut it off. So you are not going to be a man anymore. You are going to be an X-Man because you've lost your penis.
Yep.
That's the joke. That's the whole game.
It is, Johnny, I've played X-Man recently. It is so bad. It's so bad. So you think like, all right, it's a maze game. Like how bad can any maze game be? So the maze algorithm in X-Men, the idea is that you walk around in like a spiral to get to the center of the maze. So, and there's something chasing you, but there's no like hallways in between. It's like a straight line basically. So it looks like a maze, but it's actually a straight line with like a little bit of dead ends. So when you're trying to hide from the thing trying to chase you, it is a lot of the time literally impossible. You just have to kind of pray that it goes the slightly wrong way. It's a terrible, terrible game. But when you get to the center of the maze, there's a full screen sex mini game with like Atari explosion sound effects. And so you've got like kind of the worst thing ever, followed by the best 5-second payoff ever on like an Atari game. Like to see this full screen in an Atari 2600, it is something else. Go look up X-Men on YouTube. So it is both awful and absolutely delightful.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then the last one for Atari, and this one barely qualifies. Barely. And this, I put more in the raunch camp, but Porky's. If you don't know what Porky's is, this was like an 80s raunch comedy, boobs, bad sex jokes, basically Leisure Suit Larry the movie kind of, what I would say is a corollary, as we kind of talked about. But there are images of naked women within the game, very pixelated Atari. They're like pink, like kind of pixely outlines of a woman. It's like a less artistic version of a mud flap girl, basically.
Whoa, raunchy.
I know. Yeah, raunchy, super. Whoa, it's a porn game now. And it's not, this is like a mainstream game that's like released. It's in that, like in the Fox games, like Alien and MASH, like these kind of games. Beefsteak Tomatoes, a send up of Killer Tomatoes, if you didn't know that. But yeah, it's boxed like that in those black Fox boxes. So this isn't like some unlicensed game. But yeah, there was some flack caught for Porky's having that depiction in it. But if you were buying a Porky's game, if you agreed to make a Porky's game and you had seen Porky's, you know what you're in for. I don't know why anyone would be upset or be surprised if they got that game.
I don't remember if I played Porky's, Johnny, but I know it looks interesting. It's like a multi-screen kind of platform game where you have to like climb up through multiple screens. I don't think it looks too bad. Does it kind of like remind me of Frankenstein's Monster? Frankenstein's Monster is a game I really like on Atari.
That's expensive. I've been trying to buy that. It's like $400.
I know. I hate it because like not only is Frankenstein's Monster we're getting off topic, but not only is Frankenstein's Monster a cool theme, but I think the game is just so fun. Definitely better than Atari weird. Donkey Kong.
Yep. But Porky is not that expensive. It's like $50 to $100. It comes up sealed. It's not always available, like not sealed. It's not always available CIB. Carts are always available, but you will find a CIB. Just like put it on your save search. One will pop up and not too many people are interested. So you'll be able to buy it.
Oh, Johnny, I don't know how to tell you this, but the people listening to the Collector's Quest podcast, they don't buy Atari games.
Oh,
so no one's going to buy
That's not true. That's not true. You're here.
I don't buy a lot of Atari games because I look and I get frustrated at how the games I want are never available in either nice or at a reasonable price. Like Atari games are harder to find than people think.
I know
the joke is that they're garbage, but I don't know.
We have dedicated collectors that are Atari people in here. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I know. We've got a couple, and let me know. Like I appreciate you guys. Like our Atari people, I am all the way in with you guys. Atari is the coolest thing. As we've just discussed with games like Gigolo and Philly Flasher. Oh my God. Like we're getting back to like non-consensual sexual acts again. Like, God damn it. What is with you developers?
But Philly Flashers just beat him and eat him.
Yeah, but it makes it sound non-consensual now. Wait, is Philly Flasher?
It does. It's not even about flashing too. This is the beautiful part. This is a Halloween game, Tyler. You are catching the milk.
Oh yeah. You just reminded me that's the gender swap where there's a woman at top shooting down milk. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. So not just a woman, Tyler, a witch. It's a witch who is milking, and you must catch it. It's a Halloween game, right? You're gonna find that
it's definitely a Halloween game.
Like, you would think Philly Flasher, like, especially, it's got a great cover. Has nothing to do with the game. It's got, like, this lascivious-looking guy on the cover, and it's got, like, his eyes are all, like, hypnotized, spinning. It's such a good cover, and then you're like, what is this witch lactating down? What does this have to do with anything? It's really a disappointment that cover wasn't given to a game actually about flashing.
I don't want there to be a game about flashing.
Look, like if you're going to just make the cover and you're going to make the title, you know what it is, and you already thought it was a non-consensual sex game. And that's not what it is.
All right. I guess I should be proud of them for not making that.
Yeah.
Johnny, do we want to move out of Atari?
Yeah, let's go. Somehow it gets even quainter while we move up a few years and get into the NES era.
I'm just going to scroll through our list real quick. Like maybe the only notable collectible games on this entire list are going to be the NES games. Like everything else is kind of a curiosity. Like people know Custer's Revenge exists and people know about some of the newer stuff, but like no one is like, man, that's the stuff you really need to collect. Whereas the NES games have been put on a pedestal for decades.
I think we're going to talk about something in the 2000s that's pretty collectible.
All right. Well, ruin my point then.
I'm just fighting you. I don't think that's true. Everyone's going to be disappointed when we get to the 2000s. Go on. Tell me about these games that no one has ever heard of.
Johnny, the NES Panesians. And like, maybe we don't need to belabor the point because when in the realm of porn games, these are the three that everyone knows exist. Hot Slots, Peekaboo Poker, and Bubble Bath Babes, which is the porn version of Mermaids of Atlantis. These are 3 adult video games. They come in weird clamshell cases, and they've always been super rare, mythical, sought after, kind of always $1,000 games in a world before $1,000 games existed. These are the games that made you the coolest guy on Nintendo collecting forums. Like if you had all 3 Panesians, it's like, who is this guy? Wow. And how does he have so much money?
Did you get a badge for that back in the day on Nintendo Age?
Probably, yeah. Kind of the craziest thing about, like, and I'm like, do I need to go over what these games are? Hot Slots, it's a slots game where occasionally it shows you a picture of a naked woman. Like, great. Like Peekaboo Poker, it's a strip poker game. You get it. Bubble Bath Babes, like, it's a decent puzzle game. It's like not bad. Like, maybe if I was gonna pick one to buy, I would pick Bubble Bath Babes. I would personally pick Hot Slots because I like the idea of gambling. Just like I'm a degenerate, but you know, if you're gonna pick one, I think Bubble Bath Babes is the coolest one of the list.
So I just want to bring this up real quick. You know what's interesting is like the Atari games also came in like weird clamshell cases. The Atari games had like a clamshell case with like, they had a cardboard sleeve over the clamshell, but like, and a little lock on it. So you could keep your kids out of it. I guess.
Yeah. Like a real shitty toy lock, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was metal. It was made of metal and it wasn't like a plastic one. So,
yeah.
So I thought that's interesting. And I like these came in clamshells, but like VHS tapes came in clamshells, but like porno tapes back in the day came in like giant weird cardboard boxes. So I just think that's all the other VHSs. Like they were like trying to model what people would find in porn because they were sold in VHS stores, but they didn't model porn correctly.
I mean, but they did stand out. I don't know how these games were sold. This is like legitimate saloon door stuff that was sold in the non-Blockbuster rental shop in your local
back
town.
Of magazines. This was like back of magazine bullshit.
But yeah, there's good stuff. The most interesting thing to me is kind of the price, how sticky the price of this game is, because I've always thought like a loose cartridge of a Panesian is like, I don't know, $1,000.
$750 has always been the price in my head.
And you fast forward to today and it's like $1,000, like maybe a little more than $1,000 for a nice one, but like it's not crazy. If I think of like a Mario Kart 64 cartridge compared to 15 years ago, it's probably 3 times at least in price what it used to cost. And this like top of the NES set, this kind of like iconic mythical thing, has like nudged up maybe a little bit.
People are asking more, but like what it actually sells for when it sells is not as much as people are asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think like all the sales in this take place privately. I think the only one, like if you're looking at eBay, like those are there because no one's buying them. Yep.
And also these are bootlegged into the ground too. That's another problem with these games.
I mean, yeah. A lot of people make reproductions of this for some reason, but
yeah. Well, I also think since they're like not a licensed game, people are more comfortable buying bootlegs of this game. And also they're $1,000, always have been. So another thing that just I think feels like it suppresses the price.
I mean, but you don't need this for the set. So who like needs to buy a bootleg Bubble Bath Babes?
I think someone wants to, maybe for a party or something. They're like having a joke.
Party? Having a Bubble Bath Babes party?
No. I'm saying they have a party and they have like video games. I went to a party that like had video games set up and the Yakukin special was set up. Do you know what that is?
Not for the way Saturn? You pronounced it, I don't.
Oh, well, yeah, I destroyed that pronunciation, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's porn, rock, paper, scissors game.
Oh, on the fantastic. Saturn. Why is that? That's a genre. Like we're about to talk about more of it. We've already talked about some porn, rock, paper, scissors that Enix made with real quick. Maybe that's the inspiration for the genre is which one was
this
it?
one's a whole
Lolita
series
Syndrome?
though. Like Yeah, you have to win multiple rounds of rock, paper, scissors in this one to get the girls naked. So this was like a dumb party game.
Okay, so Johnny, Alex Kidd also has rock paper scissors. Why is rock paper scissors so popular in Japan? What's going on? This is freaking me out because I just realized now you're bringing up that a lot of Japanese games have rock paper scissors themes. I can't think of a single American game that does.
I don't know why in Japan. Like, if you just said why is rock paper scissors so like I mean, it's definitely implemented in like RPGs and certain puzzles. Like, why is it implemented? I think it's easy implementation and everyone knows the rules. And like I said, easy to implement, easy to understand, culturally understood across multiple places.
All right, Daddy Mulk, tell us in Japan why rock paper scissors is so popular. Thanks.
Okay.
Got it. All right. The only other thing I have to say about the Panesians, one, they make you super cool. It's just you just instantly become a cool NES collector if you have one. I don't have. I'm saying that as someone who has none, and even as someone who has like things on my long-term want list, like I'll never have one of these Panesian games. They're cool, but they're too expensive. And I you tell me if you have a better bullet point, but a complete in box Bubble Bath Babes on Heritage Auctions, July 2021. Whenever you hear July 2021, that is the peak of the video game market. Like, that might be forever the peak of the video game market because people were just spending fucking crazy, ridiculous money on video games in summer 2021. But at the same time, these Panesian games, like this really rare kind of obscure stuff, this is not the stuff that was being pumped to the moon because it doesn't have Mario or Zelda on it. So I don't know how much of this was a bump because of the time period, but a Bubble Bath Babe sold for $6,000 complete in box, July 2021, which seems high-ish, but maybe not the craziest price ever. And then I think Josh Barley at some point got a sealed hot slots for like $9,000, which who the fuck has a sealed Panesian game? That's just like crazy.
That's a little weird.
Yeah. Don't buy them. If you do buy them, I don't know, maybe get the cartridges. It'll only cost you $4,000 to get the set, and then you'll be cool.
Yeah, maybe $4,000, maybe more. But Tyler, you're leaving out one of my least favorite things, a Sachin game.
Johnny, I wanted to include this. So there's more Famicom and NES porn games, like on the edges. Like there's even like homebrew with nudity, like Cornball Cocksuckers has a giant penis on screen. Absolutely excellent if you're looking for an NES homebrew. But if we're looking for real collectible games, and you don't want to spend $6,000 on a Bubble Bath Babes, do I have a treat for you, Johnny? Because our friends T and Chen Enterprises, Sachin, have released a bunch of pornographic NES games. And one of the most common ones is Honey Peach, which is a strip rock paper scissor game.
Oh,
I don't understand how this keeps coming up, but one of the that game alone has a little bit of value, but one of the most common Sachin releases that you'll find in the US is a 4-in-1, and one of the games on the 4-in-1 is Honey Peach, and it's like when you find a lot of Sachin games, this is one of the ones that's always in it. So it's like $200 complete in box, which for a Sachin game to have a game from this company that everyone brings up and they're like, oh, what the fuck's a Sachin game? Who has Sachin games? Oh, this is such a weird company. Like, I don't know. Owning a Sachin game is cool because people like have weird feelings about Sachin and whether they even exist or not. And you could get
whether they're actually, American games or if they
exactly yes.
Territory.
I think if you're going to get one Sachin game, it's probably going to be this 4-in-1 because it's the easiest one to find. You could find like some like poker game. There's like some cheaper one. It's not the absolute cheapest one because you can get like, I don't know, like Mahjong and poker games that might be a little bit cheaper, but probably just get this 4-in-1. And yeah, $200, not bad.
Okay. Nice. Hey, Tyler, that takes us out of the 80s. And yes, there's more in the 80s. We didn't look at things like the TurboGrafx has like a couple. They've got like as we get into more of the 16-bit era, they've got like the send up of Final Fantasy, the pornographic Final Fantasy game. They also have the Street Fighter porn game.
Strip Fighter?
Yeah, Strip Fighter. I'm struggling. I own the Final Fantasy game and I'm struggling to remember what the name is.
We did our research.
I actually forgot about these until I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about these ones. But I was going to say, as we get into the 90s, we get the Turbo Duo releasing some of the earliest porn games. But like on Super Nintendo, in America, largely, you're not seeing not that many porn games on like in the 16-bit era. Just didn't really happen. Because licensing was a little bit tighter, so less unlicensed stuff was getting through. Japan is a different story, and we didn't really explore too much of that. But the Turbo Duo gets these games called. These were like three weird ones. They get the Local Girls of Hawaii, Hawaiian Island Girls, and Bikini Girls, and these aren't like officially licensed Duo games. These are for use with the Turbo Duo. And they had some pretty costly like retail prices. So Hawaiian Island Girls and the Local Girls of Hawaii were both $90 each at retail, and they print the price right on them. So that's wild. And then Bikini Girls, though, Tyler, $150 for that one.
And like you're advertising in the title, like no nudity on this Turbo Duo game or CD. I'm not going to call it a game.
There is nudity in that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm kind of concerned. So now we've left behind kind of the delightful era of Atari and Nintendo graphics, which, to be clear, very delightful, all of them. And now we're in the FMV era where it has just become like, okay, we're in the porn industry now, and I imagine just like fat guys in wife beaters smoking cigars, peddling this shit to like perverts is where we're at.
Yeah, 100%. We've reached FMV. Like, remember once upon in this era, Night Trap was a controversial game because of some of the sexual themes and the violence. Remember, like good old Night Trap.
I refute any sexual theme in Night Trap. What are you talking about?
It's a
silly game where silly people get trapped in silly ways. It could be a Saturday morning cartoon if you animated it.
Right. We don't disagree, but we both know that, look, the controversy around it was stupid, but it exists. Okay. It did exist. Dumb Joe Lieberman. Go look like now constantly Nintendo getting its nose pushed in the shit every time it gets brought up. So stupid that it was in front of Congress. Anyways, these are, you're right. This is like, we've just gotten to the era where, we can just put actual porn on games. We don't need to make the game like some game about that just winds up with porn. We can just show you porn. And that's what the games are becoming once we get to the 90s. And this is kind of the start of that in the early 90s. And we progress as we get to the 3DO and even the CDI. Yeah.
I think it's really important to kind of draw the distinction of how kind of, I don't know, sheepish they are about it in the early to mid 90s. And we're going to talk about like the 3DO Vivid Interactive games right after this. But it's not saying like, naked sexy girls of Hawaii, look at the nakedness. It's called Hawaiian Island Girls. They want to have like the plausible deniability and like just the kind of softcore nature of it rather than being outright porn.
Yep. They definitely took a hard left, and I don't know if like the Night Trap trials are like part of that. Like I definitely, there was an era in America of kind of renewed puritanism, that is happening, and people have to be a lot more mindful of the content they're putting out. And this is the era in which, Sega was doing its own rating systems. Nintendo kind of had its own rating systems. But we start to get a real ESRB rating on games now. So now content is monitored, and, we have to defend the children. This is the era of like, now we have to defend the children, kind of. At least make some passing stab like we are doing that, like you said, for plausible deniability.
Sure. So, do we have anything else on TurboGrafx, Johnny? How much are these games?
These games, so they're hard to find, and like it's rough to even call them games. So I have not found good prices. I haven't seen sold ones of them lately. So yeah, I don't really have a good price. Like last time I saw them, they were like $200 each is the range I'd put them in, but that was probably pre-pandemic, or no, during pandemic when I saw them. So I still think $200 is around the number, but some of them are faked. So just be careful when you buy these. If you buy these, don't buy these.
Maybe don't buy these. This is kind of a stupid thing. Like whoever you are listening to this, who's like, man, that's kind of interesting. Like, who has that? Like, I understand, but like, this is not one of the goals in your collection. I know it's not, unless you're the TurboGrafx guy.
Yeah, I was going to just say that. The caveat is if you're the TurboGrafx guy and you want to like, these are the plus items for your collection. You finished your set and you want some gems to like throw around it. Not that these are great, but like basically you're like, okay, I did all the mainstream stuff. Now let me put the weird conversational pieces around my collection. That's who these are for. And if that's not you, save your money and like really like keep saving for that magical chase. Okay. Because don't buy these.
But like, there's a part of me who sees like, these are like weird porn turbo duo CDs already. Like the market for turbo duo, like who the fuck bought turbo duo games? But now we got the unlicensed porn turbo duo games and their MSRPs are $90 and $150. And you can get them for like $200, maybe a little bit more now. Like that doesn't seem like too bad of a price considering how absolutely obscure these must be.
Yeah, they're pretty weird. And the best part is that the CDs, right, on the back, they all have the same image. It's the same image on the back of all the CDs or on the CDs. It's a black and white image that is the cover of, is it the cover of Local? Yeah, of Local Girls of Hawaii. I think it's the same girl. Yeah, it's that girl. But she is on the CD for all of them, which is weird. And yeah, they come in like clear cases. Just like, let's see.
Great.
Is there one on, I think there's one on Japanese Amazon right now.
Japanese Amazon?
Yeah. In stock at PayPay. So yeah, like I said, a lot of these I think you can just find like bad burned copies of. So that's what I was saying. Like, kind of be careful and like really look into it if this is something you want to buy. And I don't think you should.
All right. Well, what else you got, Johnny? I don't know why we're going on to Sega Saturn, because Sega Saturn seems like it probably has more that we're not talking about.
Yeah, I only brought this one up because this is one I actually played. And I think it's popular. I've seen this one mentioned in the wider discourse before. I was surprised you haven't heard of it.
I mean, I'm not super deep into Sega Saturn.
Okay,
like
well, this is, look, there are definitely more like down the deeper rabbit hole. This is a Japanese Saturn game. It's called the Yuken Special. It's also on 3DO. And it's that rock, paper, scissors game. It's about $70 if you want it. And yeah, you play rounds of rock, paper, scissors, and if you win, the girls get more naked.
Johnny, I just want to say this was originally released on the 3DO.
I mean, I said it was also on the 3DO.
Oh, did you? Well, all right. You should get the first print of this.
Sure.
All right. Do we want to move into 3DO, Johnny? Some more interesting American stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know where I first learned about these 3DO games. They've come up, they're not games, they're video CDs, but they've come up a bunch on the Collector's Quest podcast. And
well, because we had Stefan.
Well, no, because like people must have been discussing these on like Digit Press. Like back when I first started collecting games, mid 2000s, people knew about the 3DO porn games. They've always been like kind of this interesting thing because like, you know, the weird seedy underbelly of the 3DO of all consoles. Like again, we're getting into something like super obscure, like the Turbo Duo. Like 3DO, not the most obscure thing in the world, but come on, it's the 3DO. And then you've got like this huge range of just like porn video CDs from Vivid Interactive. I'll just list them off here. Blonde Justice, Endlessly, Immortal Desire, Love Bites, Sex, just the word sex, The Coven, and Supermodels Go Wild. And all of these are in just like the $200 range. I think Endlessly is a little bit more expensive. Supermodels Go Wild, a little bit less expensive. And they're just these horrible, like, late night Cinemax, dream-like no narrative, kind of just like a series of images. These are almost like art films, I would call them. They're just awful, though. But they're really interesting. And I guess the only thing to know is that, one, they exist. Two, a couple of them have like horror themes, like Love Bites, which I guess is kind of cool. And they also come with an outer cardboard slipcover. And man, do not buy these without the slipcover. Enough of them have the slipcover that you will never have to settle for buying one without the slipcover.
True. That is a pro tip right there. Don't do that. Yeah.
And we didn't bring it up. There's a couple other 3DO porn games that we didn't put on here that are like actual games, like Mind Taser.
Oh yeah.
I think there's another one. That's like a maze game. Like they're awful games, but they're more than video CDs. So if you want things that are actual video games, those also exist on the 3DO. Snow Job, is that it?
Yeah. Much in the way of these same Vivid Entertainment ones, there was a lot of the same kind of content for the CDI. Just as a point, again.
I think there's like a Playboy game on the CDI, and I say game, it's like a video CD on the CDI.
Well, there's also The Joy of Sex is on the CDI, which is interesting. Yeah, The Joy of Sex, and that's interesting because that's like a book, and that actually is a game that got released with an AO rating, which is adults only, which is not a rate like you'll see mature ratings a lot, but for a video game to actually get the AO rating and be on a console is pretty rare.
Yeah. Well, are those truly AO ESRB ratings, or is that?
Yeah, that's an actual AO on the ESRB.
Neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, like, I think The Joy of Sex on the CDI is interesting for that reason alone, because you just don't see AO ratings.
All right, let's all get that. Let's all be weird and put that on the top shelf. And yeah.
Yeah. You're with me on that though, Tyler?
I'm in, dude. Weird CDI things, yes, absolutely. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm also like AO is so rare because like literally no one will stock it. That like there's a legitimate AO. I mean that's why we're going to talk about it. But like GTA San Andreas AO is so interesting because you could only get it at like FYE. There's only like a couple places that kept selling it.
Yeah, and just so to say a price, like The Joy of Sex on CDI goes for about $100.
Go get it. Also, I'm wrong about Snow Job. That's not an adult game. I'm looking it up. It's more of like a non-linear detective heavy rain style game. That might be a huge putting too much praise on Snow Job on the 3DO. I don't want to diss it because I never played it, but it looks like Heavy Rain maybe.
I said Joy of Sex. Like you can get Joy of Sex actually cheaper. Because there is a PC version of it, but still produced by Philips. So you can get like a $40 version of that if you want the PC version. And it comes with a free pocket guide, Tyler.
Johnny, I don't want the PC version because everyone knows PC games are garbage, but rare obscure consoles like the CDI, that's what I'm talking about.
Also, this game has a slipcover as well. So make sure you get the one with the slipcover. Because you can buy it without the slipcover for like $20.
No one wants that. No, don't. If you're getting weird CDI porn games, just get the slipcover, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go on archive.org. I'm sure it's there if you just want to see what it is.
Yes. Agree.
All right, Johnny.
Anyways, yeah. So on CDI, the games you will own are the 3 Zelda games and The Joy of Sex. Your collection is complete.
No. So there's Wacky World of Miniature Golf. So there's this FMV mini golf game that's voiced by the American Pie Dad. And I think that's very much worth owning.
Eugene Levy?
It's exclusive. Yes.
And also, I forgot Hotel Mario.
And Hotel Mario.
Right.
See, CDI's got some stuff worth buying.
6 games. Like, 6 games. Sounds like sex.
That's the same
Perfect.
as N64.
No, come on. As someone who hates the N64, it's more than 6. It's like 12.
All right, Johnny, let's bring us up to a weird time in video games where kind of all these video games that we're about to talk about, like we have left. This is like we've left like the FMV saloon door mail order like weird guy who's going specifically to buy porn.
Yes, the 3DO and CDI, like all these games are like 94 to 95 time.
And now we are coming into the Xbox, PlayStation 2 era, and all these games literally the only reason they exist is to push the envelope. Like these aren't porn games anymore. This is just like how much press can we get for just like putting some sex in our video game? all of these games, it's that.
Yeah, this is the attention-seeking sex era of video games.
These are all the edgelord teenagers of video games.
Yep. Hey, Tyler, have you ever heard of the Guy game?
The Guy game? Johnny, I've played it.
You've played it? Oh my God, you're the guy.
No.
Are you the guy in the Guy game? You look a little like him.
Johnny, the Guy game, it's awful. The Guy game is a trivia game. Oh my God. Even just describing it, it's like frustrating how bad it is. It's a trivia game that takes place, like, obviously is like recorded live at like a spring break situation. But the trivia questions, you don't always have to get the trivia question right. They'll like find some spring break girls, ask them a trivia question, and you have to guess what the spring break girl will answer as her answer. So it's basically impossible. It's like random chance. Right. And if you get it right, it will show you boobs. But here's the caveat. Only after you have gotten to a certain scoring threshold in like a round of the game. So like, say there's 10 questions in a round. You have to play that, maybe get like 9 out of 10 right, and then play the same exact questions over again for it to be uncensored. It's so bad.
You have to beat the game to get it to do...
Exactly. Yes, you have to basically beat the level before you can go play the exact same level with the exact same FMV clips, and it will show you the same clips but uncensored. Like, what genius made that the thing?
Yeah, look, if you're really that hard up, just go. Like, I understand this is the 2000s, early 2000s, and like, not everything is online yet. But like, just go to a liquor store and buy a magazine. But I guess this is teenagers. Also, this is. If you don't know what era this is, like, this perfectly encapsulates the era. This is the Girls Gone Wild era of sex in video games.
Like 1,000,000%. This is Girls Gone Wild, the video game. Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, I've never seen Girls Gone Wild, but judging from those late night commercials, this is Girls Gone Wild, the video game.
Oh yeah, well that guy got like sued a lot because some of those girls were underage and some of them never consented. So yeah, like taking pictures of girls topless and then using their naked forms to sell DVDs without their consent because they never signed any waivers. That could be problematic, Tyler.
Huh, who would have thought that Girls Gone Wild would be problematic, Johnny? And that the guy making it might be a scumbag. Weird.
Weird. But it sold millions of copies. Like, I know we could all have intellectualized that, but people were just so horny. They're just like, oh, I don't care. That's fine. Let's do it. Like, what the fuck?
Johnny, I just want to bring this up because this is a real piece of history. The WWF Girls Gone Wild pay-per-view was a piece of lost media, and I think it surfaced like 2 years ago, if I'm remembering correctly. But it is just the biggest shit show. It is the worst thing. There's a reason that they have buried this into the deepest hole they could possibly dig it out of. Like, it was promoted, like, this is Attitude Era, obviously. Like, it's promoted as, like, you're going to see all the superstar boobs. And there's no nudity, so it's just a bunch of like horny 20-year-olds in the crowd getting mad at what they're watching. It's the fucking worst thing ever.
Wonderful. Anyways, Tyler, we should say something else about the Guy game. It's about $100. You can find it on the Xbox and PS2. Easier to find on the Xbox, harder to find on the PS2.
Well, it's because Xbox is the console for adults, Johnny. PS2 is for little kids who watch DVD movies.
Yep, more uncommon there. So, like, I was surprised it had gotten up to this price, like selling for over $100, and that's like pretty regular. So, if this is a thing that you're interested in, good luck to you. Put it on that safe search.
Well, Johnny, speaking of Girls Gone Wild controversies, the Guy game was sued and pulled from shelves, I think, or at least voluntarily pulled from like retailers like Walmart and stuff. But like a 17-year-old claimed that she was in the game and like non-consent shit, like all this stuff you're talking about, Girls Gone Wild, and that's why this is a very controversial video game.
Oh, wow, so, that's a lot more controversial than hold on, checks notes, Lolita syndrome. Jesus Christ.
So I just want to, maybe this will assuage people who own this game, because I have to own this game because I have an Xbox set. I'm sorry. There are some people who literally will buy like a set, like a PS2 or Xbox set, and specifically include this game or disclude this game because of this controversy. And like, kind of, I get it. Like, especially if like someone is saying it wasn't consensual and like they don't want this to be out there. Like, all right, I get it. But let me assuage you a little bit. There are 20 levels in the Guy game, and I don't know how long they take, like maybe a half hour each. Plus, again, you have to play them twice to get the nudity. And I believe the girl who sued is in the 20th level. As someone who has played 2 levels of the Guy game, no one on planet Earth has fucking played 20 levels of the Guy game. No one is sitting down for 15 hours and playing the fucking Guy game. So let me tell you, the girl who sued them has nothing to fucking worry about. But that is an interesting point about the Guy game and a reason you might not want to buy it.
Yeah, this is on my low end of controversy, but also still not acceptable. Like they knew the laws. Like just make sure everyone's over 18 if you're gonna fucking show their boobs, okay? And then everyone consents. This isn't too hard.
Yeah. So,
but I bet she won that lawsuit.
I don't remember. I bet she did because the game got pulled, right? That's why it's kind of it's not considering like the subject content of this game. Like I remember this game being advertised, and it's not that rare considering what it is. Like this should be the rarest game on Xbox and PS2, but it's fucking not.
Anyways, we also got BMX Triple X, yeah, because who doesn't want porn and BMXing? Is that what this is, Tyler? It's not what this is. That's what this is. This is like one of the craziest games that ever happened, I think. You're just nude on a BMX bike?
Yeah, it's got boob jizzle physics and topless models, Johnny.
On BMX bikes?
On BMX bikes, Johnny. This was supposed to be Dave Mirra BMX 3, and they're like, what if we just made it a porn game too?
So they put boob physics on girls riding BMXs?
Yes.
Oh my God, that sounds like it was made for 13-year-olds.
It like 1,000,000% was.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like Tyler was saying, I lost in our crosstalk a little bit, but this was supposed to be Dave Mirra 3, and they lost the Dave Mirra sponsorship. So they just made it BMX Triple X instead, and Dave Mirra ended up suing Activision over this. Don't know the result of that lawsuit. But this game was not sold at Walmart's or Toys R Us. Tyler, this is your favorite thing. So tell me about how many copies of this game were sold across all the platforms.
Yes.
And to be clear, this was on PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. All the big hitters.
There's a really good Vice article on the development of BMX Triple X. And there's I think this quote might be from like a Kotaku article or something. It barely sold 160,000 copies across all platforms, which for a Dave Mirra game at the height of like extreme sports, like I can understand why that's disappointing. And it was considered a commercial failure considering how much money they pumped into advertising for this fucking game. But that's not even nearly in the realm of like the rarest games you'll find on a console, 160,000 units. Like that's not bad. It's crazy that they sold that much of a porn game that like a person would theoretically go into like Best Buy and buy. They have to come up to the counter with fucking BMX Triple X, and your friends come over. They're like, "Oh, you have BMX Triple X? The fuck is wrong with you?"
I want to quiz you real quick. Okay, so this game was not censored on all the consoles. I'm gonna quiz you. You tell me which console you think it was censored on. Your choices are PS2, GameCube, or Xbox.
Johnny, I'm going to guess it was censored on the GameCube.
No, Tyler, it was not censored on the GameCube.
Because GameCubes were fucking adults, Johnny.
Yeah, it was censored on the PS2, but not the GameCube or the Xbox, which is wild to me. Like, I 100% would have thought it was GameCube.
That's so weird. I wonder what led to that. Like, what company was like, no, we will not release BMX Triple X? Was it Sony?
I don't know.
Because you know what, Sony, I know you're working with Enix. I know you're working with Hudson Soft and Square, and they've made some fucked up shit. And you're telling me we can't get BMX Triple X on PS2?
Just look at Sony's music label or the movies they were putting out. Come on. Oh, come on. Maybe they were really worried about keeping their nose clean when it came to video games in America.
Johnny, I just want to bring up again how much of an edgelord this game is. This game has unlockable stripper videos where it's like I don't remember the full context. I haven't seen one of these since I was like 13 years old. But literally you just play the game and I think you just unlock like literal videos of a strip club. And like my friend had this game and showed me this, And I think it was on GameCube because it was the same friend I played Animal Crossing with. And do you want your fucking 13-year-old mind to be blown watching strip club videos on a Nintendo GameCube that you were just playing Animal Crossing on? This was like one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. It's like the edgelording of this game completely worked.
That's very weird and so not Nintendo.
Yes.
It's really like it had to be an accident, right? Like they just published the wrong version of the game.
The guys who made this game, like this was like a joke that turned into a real game. And so Dave Mirra sued Activision or whoever made this game and like pretending that he didn't know what this game was going to be. But according to this Vice article, super great Vice article that goes really in depth on the development of this game, Dave Mirra was 100% on board. And like, this isn't just like a naked BMX biking game. It's got all the stupid like Jackass style humor, like Porky style humor in it. Like, you know exactly what this fucking game is. And Dave Mirra knew what this game was and he thought it was hilarious. And then he's like, oh, I didn't know that they were going to release such a controversial game. I need to sue you now to save my image. Like, fuck off, Dave Mirra. My
brand is important.
Also, Dave Mirra, whatever. People only know you because of Tony Hawk. No one would know who you were if Tony Hawk's Pro Skater didn't exist. You don't have an image to protect. Tony Hawk has the image to protect.
Agree. Like, I think Dave Mirra probably should have embraced this image.
Can you imagine Dave Mirra's BMX Triple X? That would be the fucking funniest game.
Could you imagine if that was a show? I would watch that show.
You know, I don't think I would watch that show, but I could see that being a show on like Comedy Central or something.
No, like a live show. Like I everyone around, like the BMX track, the big dirt tracks, big stunts with your helmet on, your knee pads and your elbow pads, but you're wang out.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure they play that at Vegas. They've got a show on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Oh, okay. Sounds right. I'm telling that would have fit right in Vegas. Dave Mirra's BMX Triple X.
All right, Johnny. Here we go. BMX Triple X, controversial game. People suing each other. Like strip club videos uncensored on the Nintendo GameCube, which like crazy. Apparently a sales failure. This game's like $25 fucking, Johnny. And like sealed like 80.
What are you talking about?
This game costs nothing. This game's cheap. On the GameCube. Like a collectible console.
That can't be right.
It's all right, I'm going again off childhood memories. It's not even a bad game. It's just like a rip-off extreme sports game. But I think it uses the Dave Mirra engine. So like it's totally fine. Like what the fuck? And it's got like this really imposing cover. Like the cover, I think it's just black and says BMX Triple X on it. It is like completely unmistakable what it is.
It also says keep it dirty on it.
That's lame, but sure.
Yeah.
Like BMX Triple X for the price, like kind of the pick of the episode.
We said Activision, but it's Acclaim.
Acclaim. Yeah, I knew I typed that wrong. That's why I said that. All right, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just clarifying for us. Anyways, yeah, $25 seems like ridiculously cheap to get this.
I think at some point, like maybe it's not going to be like pre-code horror comics, but people are going to be interested in the most controversial games of all time. And I think games like Custer's Revenge will be up there. I think Manhunt will be a big one that's up there. GTA San Andreas, we're about to talk about, will be up there. And I think BMX Triple X kind of has a spot in that hierarchy somewhere. It's not at the very top, but it's in there. Stripper videos on the GameCube. I mean, $25, I think this is worth buying. I don't think this will ever be cheaper, considering how weird the subject matter of this game is.
I think $25 to $35 for this is a good price. And yeah, if you were interested in that kind of stuff, I mean, and you can even talk yourself into it because it's a Nintendo game. And, you know, I think Nintendo is still the one to buy it on. Like, GameCube is the one to get. If I had to pick one of the systems.
I mean, absolutely, because that's the weirdest one.
Yep. All right, let's, I got a quick one that I'll just go over briefly, and then I want you to tell me about Grand Theft Auto, because there's a lot more to say about this. But hey, this was just, the Girls Gone Wild era was so prevalent that Playboy and like video games are for adults now. Xbox is out. Like this, video games are for adults, so now it's okay for us to make Playboy the Mansion, the game.
What, like, a game, again, so I feel weird. Like only existed to see how much press they could get from like fake controversy.
Right. So, do you know what kind of game Playboy the Mansion is?
It is.
Are you?
I am
you
very
think maybe
familiar with
FMV?
it. Yes. FMV? Did you say?
I said, do you think it's an FMV game? Like, what kind of game do you think this is?
Johnny, I would say maybe it's the Sims.
It's The Sims. It's just The Sims. Hey, do you want to play The Sims in the Playboy Mansion?
Like, I kind of understand the appeal. Again, going for like that 14-year-old market who thinks like the Playboy Mansion is a cool place that anyone wants to be.
Yeah, so you can go play The Sims and you can form a relationship with a Playboy bunny and then have sex with them and ask them to be your girlfriend. That is a thing you can do in this game.
Is that the order it takes place in? Because that's hilarious if so.
Yes, actually that is the order it takes place in, Tyler. So yeah, that happens. Then they also have, so it's censored on the consoles, right? Like largely censored. You can play it on Windows. And so this is for Xbox and PS2. But if you get it on like a Windows PC, it's far less censored. And they have an expansion, which then allows them to show the sex more vividly, sexual encounters, more relationships. So if you want to see genitalia, Sim-style genitalia, then go play it on the PC. Also, the European cover got like a way better cover. Ours is like blue and it's got like the Playboy bunny like on the right hand side and like the image of like a woman, but it's all like a blue sheen over the whole thing. Like the European one, they're like Playboy bunny, icon right in the middle, and then a pink cover, which is evocative of, sex. So that's a better cover to me. The other one, it just it looks like it's trying too hard.
And so I do want to point out before we talk about Grand Theft Auto, Johnny, this is a game with like shitty censored sex, but like 95% of this game is like raunchy The Sims. It is. Yep. It's a game. It's not like local girls of Hawaii. Oh my god!
No, this is a game. We've returned to games again.
We're back in games. I mean, BMX Triple X is a game too.
That's what I'm saying. The guy game is kind of the FMV dumb stuff, but the rest of these are games. And this game is such a game that it's only $30, Tyler. You can buy this for $30.
Yeah. And so but this existed and there was like controversy about that because like we'll start a moral panic over anything in America. But like there's little objectionable content in this game, I think. Like this is majority The Sims and like, yes, there's going to be the quote unquote adult content, but it's like cartoony and kind of funny. Which is also what you might say is included in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the hot coffee mod.
Uh-oh.
The most overblown moral panic video game sex scandal of all time. The absolute most outrageous, like one of the most outrageous things that has ever happened in video games, I think. Johnny.
Okay.
For our Gen Z and Gen Alpha out there who maybe weren't around when Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was a thing. I don't know how popular this scandal is with the younger generation. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, already a controversial game because it's like it is
over hookers.
Yeah, it's the embodiment, is all the advances of the PlayStation 2 era of Grand Theft Auto games in one. It's like this huge, massive, freeform crime simulator. And it's excellent. It is just such a good game. Before the game was released, there was a awful sex scene and they cut it from the game. So this is not in the actual game as you play it from the store. One of like the NPCs invites you in for some hot coffee and you have like a God of War 2 style sex minigame. And let me tell you, the character models are fully clothed. Like this is like, it's not even finished content. It's nothing compared to Playboy the Mansion. Even this is nothing.
Well, compared to God of War 2, which shows boobs.
Yeah, and like
God of War 2, what a huge.
That's only like a couple years later. What was that, like 2009 or something?
It's like I don't remember when God of War 2 came out. The exact year. We can look real quick, but that game just follows. You just start off in a threesome, and that's fine. Like they're fully moaning, and then you like Kratos like finishes and then gets up, and you see like a boob, and you're like, "What the hell is happening? Did I just quick time a threesome to start my game? What is this?" And that was fine. No controversy.
If you have never seen Hot Coffee, I really encourage you to go look it up on YouTube and make sure you're not looking at like some modded version with like a nude patch or something. I want you to go see like how tame what caused this controversy is. But this isn't even in the game. Some hackers figured out this was in the game and they released a patch. And like, yes, on a PC, like it's pretty easy to install a patch on PC, but like, how many people are fucking playing modded PlayStation 2 games? I understand like some segment is playing modded games, but who the fuck is modding PlayStation 2 games in 2005? A very small segment of people. But despite that, the moral panicists got this game pulled from shelves and they got the ESRB to re-rate it as AO, a game where you literally have sex with hookers in your car and then kill them. That is like a defining feature of Grand Theft Auto games that's already in the game. And it got an ESRB M. But this scene is what caused it to get pushed over to AO. Just the most, a cut scene. Literally cut from the game. This is the most insane thing that's ever happened in video game moral panics.
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
And so what happened? The ESRB sent out AO stickers to retailers. So you'd have to pull Grand Theft Auto San Andreas from shelves and put an AO sticker over the ESRB M. And so what happened, obviously, like most places, like the Walmarts and Toys R Us of the world are like, all right, well, we're just not going to sell Grand Theft Auto San Andreas if we have to put an AO sticker on it. But there are cool places, and the only one I know off the top of my head is FYE, who they would keep selling it. And the reason I like FYE is because FYE sells used games. So you can find the AO Grand Theft Auto San Andreas both used or new, but you would have to get like a specific used game seller who sold the game with the sticker even used. That's why I like the used copies of these AO copies so much. Anyway, you can get a complete in box AO copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with the sticker over it for like $100 to $200. I think it's a really cool piece of history. I think it's worth that. If you can get it for like $150, nice condition, and sticker on both sides. This is maybe really nitpicky, but some of the retailers only put the sticker over like the front. So you want the small sticker on the front and the big sticker on the back, if you're really going to be picky about it. But it exists for both the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions of the games. Theoretically, a PC version would exist, but like, I've never seen one. Who cares about the PC boxed version of Grand Theft Auto games? Even me, as someone who played all these games on PC. And the new prices of this are out of control, and I love it. Because I think the first time a big sealed copy came up was July 2021. And July 2021, Johnny, I've already told you, literally the craziest time in video games ever. So a sealed AO copy in July 2021 sold for $11,400. This is literally, it's just a sealed copy of Grand Theft Auto with an ESRB sticker on it. October of the same year, $4,000. Took a $7,000 price cut in like a couple months. April of the next year, $2,000. Dropped another 50% in another few months. And then just recently, a 9.4 A+, which I recognize like not the greatest grade in the world, sold on Heritage Auctions for less than $500. So absolutely has fallen off a cliff. But I do think this is like a really interesting piece of history. I think Hot Coffee will be a remembered video game controversy forever. It's at the top of that controversial video game iceberg. It
did get a lot of press, and I think there was like some ongoing controversy. So like I think once like things like this make good for news, good TV, you know, then people started looking for more, trying to trump up anything that you know, wasn't into something bigger than it was.
Yeah.
And by the way, God of War was 2007. God of War 2, that is.
So 2 years after Hot Coffee happened, they're just like, we're just going to start our game up with the threesome, whatever.
Yeah, no big deal. It's like, yeah, what a weird thing. Oh, also, I want to mention in the AO series, again, the Playboy game got an AO sticker for the expansion. So, but there are versions of it that
like the PC expansion?
The PC expansion and the PC game with the expansion combined got an AO sticker. But you want to know another game that got an AO sticker that was also on the Xbox, but not didn't get AO on the Xbox, but Leisure Suit Larry's Magna Cum Laude.
What? Really?
Yep. That on Windows, on the PC version, it got an AO.
Huh.
Because there was nudity. It did show some nudity in it.
The nudity in Leisure Suit Larry games is usually like very pixelated or like stupid. So
yeah.
Huh.
It did happen. I just we're talking about our AO games. So anyways, yeah, you can go find an AO copy of Leisure Suit Larry if you want.
Oh yeah, there's a version that says uncut on the front of the box. Look at that. Interesting.
Yeah. Fun, right? Fun. And Tyler, there was another controversy that happened in the 2000s, the mid 2000s. And this was, I don't know how widespread the news was on this, but you heard it and I heard it. It was definitely, if you were like watching shows like X Play or anything like that, this definitely got brought up. And Rape Play, you've heard of this one, Tyler?
Johnny, I sure have. Another game we're going to encourage our collectors to buy for being an important controversial video game.
Are we encouraging them? Okay. So this game came out in 2016. It's considered
2006.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said 2016.
What the hell was that? Was that even English? What did I just do?
I don't know. Start over.
2006. This game came out in 2006. I definitely didn't say anything weird. It is considered a 3D eroge. Do you know what an eroge is, Tyler? Because you're a youngin'?
Sure, Johnny. It's an erotic Japanese video game.
Yeah,
or
it
maybe
is,
also like other forms of media, like anime and manga. I don't know. I think they're video games, though.
Yeah, it's a more hardcore version of an eki, I guess. Cool. That's a thing I learned. Anyways, this game got a lot of news, and it was by Illusionsoft. And Illusionsoft is a developer of adult games. It wasn't released in America. This is a Japanese game, but somehow it hit the American news circuit, and it was because it was, how to put this lightly? Hey, Tyler, this is a rape game. You may not have got that from the title Rape Play. So not only do you rape a woman, Tyler, but you rape children in this game too. What the hell is going on with this game, Tyler? You rape...
yeah, Japan, you know.
Yeah, meanwhile in Japan, that's what this is. In 2006, like, we had hot coffee going on, being a huge controversy. Meanwhile in Japan, Rape Play comes out, and you start out by, raping... This is the order. You rape 2 minors and an adult woman, in the order of a 12-year-old, a 42-year-old, and then a 17-year-old. Okay, and here's the deal. If you want to unlock free play mode, you have to finish raping all 3 of these women first, Tyler, and then you can do free play.
So this caused a controversy in America because it hit American Amazon.com apparently, and that's how people were like, how is this being sold? What is this video game? I don't think...
It's a good question.
In the realm of like weird Japanese video games, I don't even think this is like particularly like a landmark offensive game, because we talked about games from 1983 that involve like murdering little girls with buzzsaws. So
well, there is child murder in this too, so don't worry about that.
Absolutely. But like between 1983 and 2006, I have to imagine there were many, many more fucked up games. And because some stupid importer happened to put this on international Amazon.com, this one specific horrible game did cause a controversy. Like a really big one. Like I think like people in like my high school would know what this game is because it was like a famously controversial, terrible game.
Well, let me tell you, hey, before you get to free play, you can also get multiple endings, Tyler. Did you want multiple endings for this game?
Oh yeah, Johnny, is there like a happy ending and a sad ending? Do you have a good ending and a bad ending?
There's a black ending and a red ending. Okay, so I'll cover those for you. Messiah, that's the male protagonist. The raper, the rapist in this. He either impregnates Manaka or Aoi, the Manaka is is Manaka the 12-year-old? No, that's the 42-year-old. And the 17-year-old. Okay. So you either impregnate the 42-year-old or the 17-year-old. You decide to keep the child.
Oh, that's nice.
So, but look, there is punishment. Like, he's punished because then at the end, he falls onto the rails of a subway and the train kills him.
Oh, hey,
Okay?
all right. Oh, so
All
the
right.
game has a happy ending. Who would have thought?
Yeah, happy, super happy. In the red ending, if you use the cowgirl position to finish your rape scenes, if it is used with Aoi before she breaks, the game will show a cutscene of Aoi brandishing a knife and stabbing Masaya many times while hysterically laughing. The scene goes black and Aoi's voice is heard. The game ends with Aoi being questioned by the police for Masaya's murder.
Johnny, don't buy this video game.
Don't
Their
buy
physical
this game.
copies do apparently exist. It was sold on Amazon.com. Don't buy this video
Yep,
game.
it's a DVD-ROM game. Don't buy this game. Like, you could say it's historical. It made the news, but when you're like, oh yeah, this guy rapes 2 kids. One of them's 12. Just how you're not winning whatever intellectual debate you think you're going to have. Just stop it. Don't buy this game. You don't, unless you are like the fucking weirdo, like, I'm a sicko, so I got all the weirdest, kinkiest, bullshit, most controversial games in history. If you're that guy and this is just a footnote in your collection, sure. But for all your regular collectors, maybe just pass on this one. Spend your money on anything.
No, I think everyone's going to judge you if you like have this even in your collection somewhere. So if you like have one of those, using one of those video game collection apps that like leaks your app and there's like a public link where everyone can see what's in your collection and someone sees that you have a Rape Play DVD, they're going to be like, all right, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? No matter, like, I understand, like, it is interesting from a controversial historical sense, but still, like, what the fuck is wrong with you for owning this?
No, I think what's going to happen, Tyler, like if you're the guy who's got this you're going to have a bunch of weirder shit than this. And like, this isn't even
that's what everyone's going to think. They're like, well, if he's willing to buy this, what is he not putting on his collection database?
So, yeah.
Does he have Mari-chan's Close Call in there? I don't know.
Probably has all of those. Anyways, also, I forgot to mention, it's not just rape. He also stalks them too. He's also a stalker.
I mean, it's good content. Like, we got to fulfill a wide variety of fantasies here, Johnny. Video games are really about fantasy film.
I'm going to tell you about the horrorscape that is modern collecting, or modern porn games in a minute. But I guess he's, the term is, am I getting this right, Tyler? A chikan?
I don't know this term.
Chikan?
Oh, the Forever Man.
No. So this is a term that is used to describe sexual harassers who like do lewd stuff in public or like are in trains and like, you know, grope and stuff due to crowded conditions.
I'm looking this up on Wikipedia. Why is there a term for this?
Because I guess it's such a common, it is an attribute that is put into games. So shall I just go into the modern hellscape of games? We don't have a price for this.
Let's get off this awful shit. Tell me about the awful world of modern video games.
It's pretty tame if you want to buy games. Like the Vita and the Switch are kind of like, hey, Eki games, they're out there. You know, these are just visual novels and they like, they got some boobs in there. Like I said, Sengun Kagura and Catherine and Akiba's Trip, Undead and Undressed, the Neptuna series, all these series, you got some nudity and usually it's just like boobs and, another term I learned having to do research for this, I'm going to get this wrong. Like I'm getting all these wrongs. Pantiara. It's basically panty shot. Panty shot. You know, the games feature this kind of stuff, some sexual play. It's usually lighthearted, but not always. visual novels. It's like, to me, this is what all visual novels are, especially if it's got like a booby girl on the front of it. You kind of know what you're getting into, and there's people who enjoy these type of games, and that's fine. Whatever. Some of it's like furry based. Cool. Whatever. That's for you. That's what you can find on the Switch. These are usually censored versions. Vita had some censoring. If you go to Steam, a lot of these games are uncensored. So if you want the uncensored, more hardcore stuff, then you go to Steam. Like the Switch is, like, I don't know, the gateway drug to the rest of this world. And even this has like, they still do have adult content and adult situations and things like, and a lot of time, the problem with these games is like it depicts underage people. Like a lot of it is kids who are in school or not quite 18. Like, so that's where you get stuff that I find
that Japanese influence.
Yes. And like, a lot of it is like the trope of the Japanese schoolgirl exists in a lot of this, in a lot of these games. Now, if you go further and you're like, what happens to these games? Like when you get into there, like, and I don't know if these kind of games will ever see the light of day as far as physical publishing, because they don't need to. We exist in the world of Pornhub, right? And porn everywhere at your fingertips, as much porn as you could ever want everywhere. So everybody has had to up the game. The line, as we've been talking, like, except for the very early Japan, stuff, which was like crazy from the get-go, porn that was in America, like the games just kept pushing the line a little further, to what they were showing until you had like full sex scenes in games. But now that we're, like I said, in the world of Pornhub, they've had to push the boundaries so far that when you pick a game, it gives you like porn games, and the kinks that are in them are more well documented than the gameplay in just regular games, which is crazy to me. They're like, oh, by the way, are you into these panty shots things? Or, oh, are you into like the groping stuff? Oh, are you into rape play?
Looking for some stalker games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, this one's a stalker game. It features some, I think, what was it called? NTR, which is like, some cuckolding, where you're like, oh, you have to watch the person. You're like, it gives you the whole laundry list of everything that is in the game. You're like, oh yeah, these all things. It's like, and then it'll tell you non-consensual, consensual, like, which is crazy to me that they're like, and this isn't for some rating system. So like people can be like, oh, I should avoid this one. This is so what you're into. You're like, oh yeah, it's doing the thing that gets me the mostest. So I'm going to go along with, this is the game for me. And it's like, oh, furries, animals, just like all of it. It's just like, we've reached this place, and you can play them in your browser. You can get them on Steam. There's like just porn sites dedicated. Yeah, and
they probably have better so I'm always complaining about video game documentation, but like there's this small community that is just like hyper focused of like, I need all the NTR games. I got to document everything. Got to have a wiki of all the characters. Like they probably have everything for these games.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, if you want to know what like all of your kinks are, then and get them documented in a game, then get into this. But like I said, I don't think most of these are ever going to get physical releases. Maybe in Japan, but they're definitely not coming here because these are games you play in Steam or your browser or download from questionable websites. Or a lot of these games too, Tyler, because there's these engines that make these games, is lots of people making their own Patreons and developing these games for their communities and just publishing them. So like there's a version of like just game creators for their sexual habits out there, like creating content.
And that's beautiful. That's a community rallying around an indie developer, Johnny, to get the stuff that the big guys won't give you.
Yep.
My Furry Cat Girl Summer Vacation. Guys, I'm making $50,000 from my Patreon every month. I promise the game is coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's like one, what is it called? Flowers that this, like, I think, like I'm looking, it's like, oh, this guy's got 3 Patreons or something. He's made like $26, but he's made this whole game.
Hey, he's doing it for the community, Johnny. We're doing it for the community. We don't have that much more than 3 Patreons.
We got more than this. This is relatively new. Maybe it Maybe it comes up later though. But yeah, it's wild, Tyler, that this is all out there.
Well, Johnny, to get back on the topic of collecting, because this is the collector's quest.
Yeah, you can't collect. I just wanted to tell you what it became.
What the world is. I mean, we're in the world, we're in like the world of like the completely uncensored Wild West internet where like the tools to make things are so in the hands of people. Like Web 2.0 was like 15 years ago. Like anyone can make a game now, no matter how fucking messed up you are. So yeah, there's probably like the corners of the internet where just like you could find the niche for anything.
This, I told you, I have to like bleach my eyes and everything. Like literally, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to research modern. The first thing that comes up is like, oh, go to this like site, this NSFW site on Reddit, which documents this stuff. And I like the first thing I do, it's like, we've updated our incest stepsister porn game for you now. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't like down the rabbit hole, Tyler. This is like top of the search list. It's just like, oh, okay. It's like, if you're interested in this, it's got big ass, big tits, vaginal sex, incest, domination. I'm just like, what is happening? And
Johnny, I understand. The world, like, I don't want to linger too much on the downloadable games. I understand. It sounds like a treasure trove of wonderful things.
Not.
We should go to that subreddit. But should I collect the modern stuff? The stupid Nintendo Switch games, the games with like girls in bikinis shooting each other with water guns, whatever they are. I don't follow this stuff.
If you want to, the Vita is a treasure trove and the Switch is a treasure trove. Should you? They like fetch prices. They have. Here's what I'm going to say about it. How do I say this nicely? They have dedicated communities, Tyler. They have people like RPG collectors. There are people who just love visual novels and collect all the visual novels. So it is a subgenre of game that has dedicated and passionate collectors. If that's for you, you should collect them.
I feel like it's kind of interesting because it's definitely an uncommon genre, uncommon subject matter. But like even thinking about it, like how common are those vivid interactive 3DO games? 3DO video CDs, not super common. How common are those Turbo Duo CDs? Not super common, and they're like a couple $100s. And like these Switch games, if you think they're going up in price, like these Switch games are more common than that really rare 90s stuff. So like, I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on Switch games.
And these usually aren't in that price range either. And like a lot of times they're like on the Vita and then like republished on the Switch. They get like new content added and republished later. Like these things keep building and there's like special editions. So yeah, this is like, you can collect this stuff. I don't think it's super high priced. I don't think it's rare. I think there's definitely going to be some that are like the rare, obscure ones. If anyone crosses the line or creates too much controversy or gets in without a patch or something, like I would keep my eye out for that if I was like a collector of controversy, but that's not really where I am. So I would just consider the market. Obviously, the ones that people consider the best rise to the top and command a higher price.
I kind of feel like a lot of people jump on these games, like a Perky Little Things because of the controversy, but like because of that, like enough people have bought it where it's not going to be some rare, exciting thing in the future.
No, and like it's on Steam. So Perky Little Things is completely censored on the Switch, which is ridiculous because like it's like a seek and find, which is, it's like a point and click seek and find game. You find the thing, you put it on the thing, and it opens up a panel and it shows you like a nude girl or creates a sex scene that happens. And like just in this little box. But on the Switch, it's like completely censored. So why even bother? Aside from that, it comes with an art book, which is not censored.
I mean, great. Like, I mean, that's still interesting on a Nintendo console, but I'm just like going on eBay. 27 results for Perky Little Things. One seller has sold 434 new copies of this game for $40. Like, it's clearly people are like, wow, this is really weird subject matter for a Nintendo Switch game, regardless of like how much actual nudity is in the game. It's interesting from like I can't believe this is on Nintendo. This is nuts.
Yeah, like Waifu Uncovered has like a sequel now to it as well.
Waifu Discovered.
Uncovered and
tons of copies on eBay. Yeah,
all over the place. Right. You can find this all over, and they're just like still for sale at Play Asia. So if you really want this, just go to Play Asia and buy it.
But I mean, like, is this so like I'm talking about 20 years from now, are these going to be interesting games, or is this just going to be like more shit that was on the game console with 3,000 video games, Nintendo Switch?
Well, I think it'll be more interesting than that, but not much more. Like, because this is like a certain subgenre and it always has a certain allure to it, I think there's so much bulk on the Switch. I think there's more physical games released on the Switch now in America than any console ever. I think we hit that point.
I would not doubt it.
Like that includes the PS2. And it might be worldwide now the largest release catalog ever, which is crazy to think about.
We're in the modern era. There's just more video games than ever. It's
this is like without like it definitely has a lot of shovelware, but we're not talking like the Wii style shovelware. I mean, that's all on there, but not at the level which you talk about the Wii and like how much of it is bulk. That's not what the Switch is. So the Switch is just a nightmare to collect for. But
instead of shovelware, Johnny, it's ports, which I realize is not shovelware. That's valuable to some people.
Sure. So yes, it's slightly more interesting than all the bulk. It's going to rise above that level of bulk. It's going to be more expensive. Is it going to be in the uber collectible zone or the collectible zone? I don't think so. I think it's going to rest like maybe right at the bottom of collectible. If we're talking a range.
I think if you think that like, oh, the adult Switch games are going to be so weird and on the edge and collectible and people are going to want this stuff, I think you have to look back at Atari, which like the original golden age of weird porn games is the Atari Mystique games. And like, you can go get them for fucking $100, complete box. Yep. And even like those Atari and especially the Playground games, there's a bunch of new old stock available still, and that's going to be the same thing with all these weird Switch games. Like, there's going to be cases of Perky Little Things and Panty Party.
Oh, yeah. Well, and a lot of people aren't going to open those, so they're just owning it to own it.
Yeah, exactly. Like my copy of Waifu Uncovered that you got me. Thank you.
Look, you told me you wanted to play co-op with your wife.
I still might. I still might. We'll see if I can.
I'm just going to message Ada myself. We'll see if we can get this to happen.
All right. Johnny, I just want to do a real recap. If you have a soft porn adventure on Apple II, wow, you're super cool. That's a really cool,
super cool
game.
Jealous.
All these Japanese PC games, don't buy them. Koei Nightlife, kind of cool, but you know, just stay away from Japanese PC games.
Did we mention that Koei has like a whole history? They have like more adult games than this. Like they've got.
Oh yeah, that's not their only adult game. I just was going. All these companies, like a lot of them, publish numerous adult games. It's just like less taboo in Japan to do that. So yeah, there's more. There's Do Dutch Wives Dream of Electric Eels or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the Koei ones are more interesting. I really want that Electric Eels one, just because like what a weird game.
Yeah, there's the seducing of like the condominium housewives or something is another really popular early Koei adult game. Like it's not like a stupid adult game. It's more of like an adventure game, like Leisure Suit Larry type deal. Yeah. If you're gonna get some, like I like the Atari games a lot. Obviously, I mean I think I am the biggest Atari fan on this podcast, but I think some pretty iconic, stupid beat 'em and eat 'em, Custer's Revenge type stuff on Atari.
I mean I have those. So what does that say?
Johnny has them. I've convinced Johnny. I don't know.
I've had those before the podcast, Tyler.
Yeah, look at you. Wow. See, that's how cool they are.
Yeah, I think they're cool.
I think the Panesians are whatever. You either think they're the coolest thing ever or you will never care about them. And that's why they have kind of stayed at the price level they're at for so long. Saturn games no one cares about. Turbo Duo, no one's going to care about. 3DO, kind of interesting in how much there is of it. But again, no one cares about it. Guy game, a little bit weird to buy that. BMX XXX, I think, is awesome for how cheap it is and how weird and controversial it is. And then maybe get an AO copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I think that's cool too.
That's pretty cool.
I have an Xbox one complete in box. I don't know if I have a PS2 one, but I should go get a PS2 copy of that. Now that we're talking about it on Collector's Quest. If anyone makes it this far into this episode, maybe people look at this episode and are like, what? I'm not watching that episode. What are you talking about?
Oh, they definitely aren't watching it because we're not video. Anyways, I kind of want one of those. And, you know, I'm not even a Grand Theft Auto fan, but I think that's cool that it just has the AO sticker.
Yeah. Piece of history, Johnny. The problem is with that, if someone finds a roll of those ESRB stickers, because obviously Like, if you're selling Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, guess what? You have like hundreds of copies of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. So you got a giant roll of those AO stickers. And if even one of those rolls is still out there and someone finds it, like all those copies become worthless instantly. Because you could just buy a sealed copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and stick the stickers on them. That's why whoever spent $11,000 on one of those things is like out of their minds. Because it's not like a real variant printing difference. It's just someone stuck some stickers on it. So you really got to hope that no one finds a roll or no one secretly has a roll and is like slowly releasing those into the market.
Like, look at me make this money.
Yep.
So that's how I do it.
Johnny, those are some adult, very mature, really thoughtful themed video games that you can go collect.
You could. Or just do anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted an excuse to talk about some Atari porn games more, really, Johnny.
Okay, well, we did it. This is the second time we've talked about porn games on the Collector's Quest. This was a far deeper, more disturbing look into it.
Yes, definitely more disturbing.
My brain will never be unclean. Thanks. God damn it. Just so upset about this.
Do we want to move on to the Collector's question?
I sure do. I sure would love to put this episode behind me.
All right. I've got to like dig through questions to find some real ones because Tiger Wolf might have asked, when are we going to start doing ads for dick pills? Because perhaps a popular video game collecting YouTuber did take a dick pill advertisement.
Oh, who was that? You didn't want to say?
Oh, it's Pat the NES Punk. It was on one of his latest videos. He was like, "Oh, are you not doing great in the bedroom? Well, get Roman."
Do you want to level up your penis?
Yeah, they should really lean into stuff like that. Yeah,
I would have a Super Mario sound effect of eating the mushroom and getting bigger instantly.
All right, Shackfish, thank you for giving us some real questions here. Do you consider the economic implications of our hobby? With e-commerce giants like eBay and PayPal, investing into the hobby largely benefits individuals and small businesses. Oh, with e-commerce giants aside, investing into the hobby largely benefits individuals and small businesses. I don't know how to answer this question, Johnny.
I don't either.
Okay, so the core of the question is that we are collecting secondhand goods. We're giving this stuff new life by buying stuff that already exists rather than new shit. Theoretically, that would be a good thing. The problem is, I don't buy lots. I'm not a lot guy. I buy everything I buy individually. So I have just like dozens of games coming in. I've got a truck spewing carbon emissions out into the air that comes to my house just to deliver me stuff that I'm too lazy to go get myself. I'm a human being. I get stuff delivered from Amazon because I'm too lazy to go to the store, Johnny. So I don't think that's probably great for the environment, what our hobby is doing.
No, I think there are definitely... Look, there are ways to measure... Those companies have already been measured for their carbon impact. That's what we're really talking about. So, and then you're going to see a bunch of false bullshit about how they neutralize their carbon impact about, oh, we plant this many trees or we're going carbon neutral, right? What they say is carbon neutral by doing these things called carbon offsets. A lot of that's all bullshit. You can read up a lot of that. Even the best companies in the world and their attempts at carbon offsets are pretty junky. You want to see factories go solar. You want to see cars go electric to truly offset these things. The other things that they say they do, the recycling bit or the planting of trees, doesn't go nearly as far as their publicity would lead you to believe. And by not far, I mean like barely anywhere. So is it good? Do I think about it? Yeah, I think about it, but we like to place a lot of burden on the consumer to fix the people who are selling the goods. And at some point, these giant companies that make tons of money, businesses, small business, they need to take a look at themselves and say, I bear part of this responsibility. And then work it into the cost. Yes, there's the constant bout of capitalism. Like, how do I reduce my cost and make more money? But at some point you can have responsible capitalism, which, says, well, if we destroy the planet, then we can't make any money because then if no one has anywhere to live, right? And then you're going to get a bunch of people who are just going to argue with you about climate and what climate science is or isn't. They're going to call it a pseudoscience. So it's very hard to have like a reasonable discussion about this, especially since it's politicized. I don't think this is really a Democrat or a Republican sidesy things, though it's been made into that. I think there's just like a basic human thing that we've made too political. Hard to have the discussion. Yes, I would like to see more of it. I think, and then just sum up, I think factories and distributors and, stores need to play a better, bigger role in them. And there needs to be regulations around a lot of this stuff. A lot of things require regulation because it's not going to be done at the consumer level. You can't count on people, and especially if people are poor or in extreme situations, they're just never going to be able to bend to that. Or they're just like savvy. Like you can't expect it at the consumer level.
All right. You've kind of gone deeper into this topic than I was thinking, but I agree. Yes, the onus for things like climate change has to be on regulation of big businesses, and there's only so much an individual person can do. As far as the sustainability of collecting games compared to other hobbies, first of all, like, I don't think that anything where you're constantly putting stuff or receiving stuff in the mail can be sustainable when there are so many hobbies that you could just do with a computer now. Podcasting, what we're doing right now, requires like nothing. We got a microphone. It's a durable thing. I'm going to use it for years. And then everything just goes online. Playing video games, like you could just play video games just on Steam. Like you don't need to buy physical objects anymore to play video games. So like that's a very sustainable hobby compared to video game collecting. And I think even in the theoretical sense, like I think if you are someone who decides like, all right, I want to go out and buy used video games rather than new video games as like a sustainable thing to do, or just to save money, because it makes a lot more sense to buy used video games. Like, yes, if you're going out to the store and buying, a used copy of Call of Duty Black Ops 3 instead of buying the new copy of Black Ops 4, like, yes, you're making some very minor impact in the world there. But the way that video game collectors do it, like, the average video game collector, like, we're buying, like, an average video game collector has like a couple hundred games and like they bought all those in the mail. And then there's the people, like, there's different niches who like takes them and sends them to Wada, who puts them in a giant plastic case. And like, just you think of like the shipping impact of like a single video game, like there'll be the original seller who ships it to the reseller ships it to Wada to be encased, Wada ships it back to the seller, that seller ships it to Heritage Auctions ships it to the end buyer, and like this one video game goes on like 6 different truck journeys to get to its end buyer and gets encapsulated in a piece of plastic in the process.
Well, you forgot then the end buyer tries to put it on eBay to flip it.
And then the end buyer puts it on eBay to flip it. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And like the same thing with like, you think of like comics and cards where like, yeah, that's a renewable resource. That's very easy. But like if you look at how many cards PSA grades in a day, it is like disgusting how many trading cards are being graded every single day. It's like tens of thousands or something. Anyway, I don't think too much about the environmental impact of games. I like an idea. Sure, it's the idea that we're reusing used things, but I think all of us are hoarders and abusing the shipping system a lot to do it too. So
I want to just like throw one thing in there. So like one thing is like people are like, you said, used because it's better financially. Yeah, that might be true if like you are truly opting out of a new game. But if you're like, I'm buying the used version of the new Call of Duty in 3 months, what you're doing then, like I've talked about, like GameStop is a parasite in the video game industry. They don't do anything. They don't produce games. All they do is resell the same game 3 or 4 times. And that's actively taking, like, people are like, games are so samey, and like big publishers never take risks on indie games anymore. We don't get cool stuff made. It's like, yeah, because if you have things like GameStop that resell the same used game over and over and over again, that's taking money out of the developer's hands. Game Pass has gone a long way, and we're the model is currently changing. But if you think about that, like from a used perspective, if you're that guy, you're just taking money out of the developers' pockets. Those people, then they don't see any growth. The only people who really profited is GameStop. And like I said, GameStop is a parasite on the game industry. Their role, this is not symbiosis. You can say, they're providing a role for you, but you are just encouraging the parasite, not actual video game developers.
All right.
Something to think about. Something to think about.
That's our super good answer to that question, Johnny. And
yeah, probably a lot more than anyone wanted or needed.
I got one more question from EA Sports. You guys and a lot of the veterans on this board have been collecting games for a long time and have deep specialized interests. I don't know, that doesn't sound like anyone on this podcast. How do you feel when talking with newer collectors who are still into the obvious stuff, like big pre-2000s consoles? Does it get old talking about your favorite NES games over and over, or do you just love to talk about it and you're happy talking about it forever?
You want to go first, or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Johnny, I am super jazzed to talk about some Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Brothers 3. And kind of even in the modern age of collecting, like the common obvious stuff has been like the best stuff to own. Like so if you're going and you're buying like a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 now, like yeah, that's not only not boring, that's like almost the exciting thing to be talking about. But yeah, I'm obviously never bored talking about any collectible video games. I will talk to you about Sharp X1 games that no one has ever heard of and no one cares about, but I'll talk about Nintendo cartridges all day. I've spent too much time in my life learning about this stuff and being excited about this stuff to not want to talk to you about Nintendo games. And also, I mean, I'm one human being. I can only play so many video games in my life. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you've played. And like a large portion of my life, I've dedicated to playing specifically like NES games. Like that is one of the consoles I know just better than anything. And I will never be able to play enough PlayStation 2 games to like really be able to talk in depth about gameplay of a lot of PlayStation 2 games. And like absolutely, you talk about like the Xbox One and like Xbox Series X. Like I will never play enough of those games to really know what those consoles are compared to NES. So yes, I will always want to talk about Atari and NES and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
100% agree. Like, we aren't fancy art critics. We don't have our nose so far up our own asses sniffing our farts like that. We're like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about these common things. No, it's the best. Like, who doesn't want to talk about Zelda? Please talk to me about Zelda and Castlevania. You just found it fucking awesome. Let's talk about it. I'm excited for you. Like, what an amazing journey on to be like, I'm starting. And look, one of the coolest things I get to buy is a Castlevania. Like, here's what happens. When we started like getting into hang tabs and stuff, I'm like, I don't have the hang tabs. That's awesome. You know why? It gives me an excuse to buy Castlevania again. That's awesome to me. That's not boring. Great. Let's talk about it. Everything Tyler said and more. Like, and again, that's why we have this podcast. It's not because we're like, we don't want to talk about the boring shit. Let's make a really esoteric list of like weird porn games from Japan. That's not the thing that does it for us. Like, we enjoy going into the weeds, but we also enjoy coming back to the very beginning. Game collecting is just a circle. It's not a flat plane of we're out here and everyone else is behind us. That is not how we view it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're collecting like the NES set and you feel like, that was something that everybody already did, like, no, I'm super on board. If you're just like posting your pickups and you're still collecting like 677 NES games, 667, am I getting that wrong?
77, yeah.
Yeah, I want to be excited when you get the cool stuff. If you get Alex DeMio's Race America, I'm going to be like, fuck yeah, dude, it's Alex DeMio's Race America. That's an uncommon game. I'm in. That's super cool. Yeah, I think everything in video games is cool. I think sealed games are, I'm in like sealed groups. I think some of the stuff sealed people are buying is cool. I think a lot of it is dumb, but like some of the sealed stuff is cool still. I like all collectible video games. Except get that Nintendo Switch out of my face, Johnny. I'm out.
Nope. I'm buying you Switch games for Christmas.
I know you are. Yeah, there's nothing boring to me about collecting video games. Yeah, I mean, obvious stuff, or if you have like some weird niche, if you're going to be the N-Gage guy, like whatever. Tell me about what you're into, even if it's just like PlayStation 2 games. Not to just get spared. PlayStation 2 might be the best system ever.
No, I don't think it is. I actually, the more I think about the PS2 library, the less I like it.
Get out of here, Johnny.
I'm serious. Like, we'll have to talk about it another time. But if you are the weird N-Gage guy, please tell me about N-Gage. I do want to know. Like, I can sit here and shit on a 3DO and the CDI, but if you've got a lot of knowledge about that, please talk to me about it. I'm excited to learn. So, yeah, video game collecting is awesome. video game collecting is the best. Why do you think we're here? How do you think we talk for 3 hours every goddamn podcast, which a podcast that should be 1 hour long and not more? And when Tyler and I are just like, let's just talk about this forever, because we love it.
Anyway. Yeah, man, we do. We put a lot of work into the Collector's Quest podcast, even if it is just two guys talking about weird video games a lot of the time. There's a lot of time.
This is the nicest thing Tyler's ever said about the podcast. Write it down, people. He didn't disparage us. All right. Shall we move on to what we've bought and what we've played?
Sure, Johnny, you go first.
I will go first. All right. Hey, Tyler, I didn't play anything because it was like a super busy week and that sucked. I think maybe I got like one nightmare dungeon in Diablo 4 in season 1. And I'm like, oh God, I'm like just trying to get to level 80. And I'm only at like level 72.
Well, so that's what I'm at like level 45, Johnny. I'm still playing Diablo 4. I just played it last night. I'm pressing the A button and the X button. Those are the two buttons bound to my main skill to just walk into the middle of everything and just go, brah! And it has some beat 'em up vibes of I'm just tapping buttons.
I guess everyone's going to be disappointed to know that after all of that, I didn't play a bunch of porn games. Sorry, guys. I disappointed you. Hey, Tyler, I didn't buy very many video games this week. I only bought 2.
Oh?
Yeah, just 2.
Oh, shit. No, yeah, wait, you got the good stuff.
I got the good stuff, kind of the good stuff. It's not in box, but I did get Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the Atari 2600. Thank you, Chris, CWR2. I randomly saw he had doubles in like a post he did, and I was like, what the hell? I need those. Do you want to sell them to me? And turns out the answer was he did. And he was very generous to do so. So now I have those to post on Halloween. Hooray.
Yeah, those are just super good. I mean, I know we're talking about adult in like the tongue-in-cheek, stupid sex way this episode, but like those are some really good early adult video games meant in like the violent sense. I really like those.
Yeah. You know me. I've wanted them for a long time, and I just was like, fine, I'm just going to spend the money. And that's like a lot. It's like most of my Halloween money now gone, but that's fine. I wish they were complete in box. I wish I had manuals, all that. Maybe one day, but like that fills a little bit of the hole that was there, because like it's hard to be like, I'm the Halloween collecting guy. Do you have Halloween? No.
This has frustrated me because you've known these games are super cool and you have a stupid reproduction of them. You have like a multi-cart Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm so happy you have the real games now.
I know, like that I didn't mean, I thought it was real. I was naive back then. I was younger and dumber. Not a lot younger, but I was definitely dumber. I got taken in like a sucker because I didn't know shit about Atari, and Atari information isn't like, especially about those two games, isn't great. Weirdly.
I bet we could go on Usenet in the 90s and find some guys talking about weird rare Atari games.
I'm sure we could. But yeah, I did a bad job back then. Now it's better. Anyways, that's what I bought and that's what I played, Tyler. What about you?
Well, Divertov in the Discord got me to play Post Void, which is a $3 first-person shooter with a crazy art style. It is like looking into a nuclear explosion. It is maybe the brightest, most uncomfortable game to look at that I've ever played, but like not in a totally bad way. It's a first-person shooter. The floor is like vertically wobbling up and down, so it's constantly like trying to make you motion sick. All the wall textures are constantly moving. Whenever you shoot, the screen goes fully white for a split second, and then in later levels, there are enemies that are just walking like light bulbs, and all I do is flash your screen and turn it pure white for like 2 or 3 seconds. Very hard game to look at.
Are you loving it?
Yeah, I kind of love it. So it is an FPS roguelike. Johnny, the game is 5 minutes long. Start to finish, no bullshit. Like, this isn't like a gimmick. It's literally just a 5-minute long video game. It's got 11 levels, and the levels are like 20 seconds each, and it's pretty hard. And it has like a real time pressure. Like, you can't fuck around. Like, you got like 30 seconds to beat a level, and you do it in about 20 seconds. It's great. It's so good. Why can't games be 5 minutes long, Johnny?
This sounds exactly like what you want.
It is so up my alley. I mean, this is no Cruelty Squad. Cruelty Squad belongs in the Museum of Modern Art. That is a perfect video game. But this is still, it's like the Robotron of first-person shooters. You get in, and like within 1 second, you are just in the middle of shit. Guys are shooting you. You have to get headshots. You have to be running as fast as possible. It's really fun. And it's $3.
Awesome.
It was on sale for $2 this week. Just go get Post Void. I think it's on consoles too. It's probably $3.
If you play it for like an hour and it was $2, you got more than your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely. People who try to split up, this is my problem with short games. Don't consider how much value you get out of a video game like the dollars per hour. Because when you start doing dollars per hour, the content is not good. The content, those 5 minutes of Post Void, and to be clear, it took me like 2 hours to beat the game. So it's longer than 5 minutes because it's kind of hard. But that's so much more valuable than like RuneScape. Like RuneScape, you pay $15 a month. And yeah, I could put 200 hours into those $15 a month. But like I'm clicking trees and rocks. It's a fucking ridiculous video game. It's like there's no value there.
No.
I love RuneScape.
I mean, if you think about food, like value per hour, you don't quantify good food like that or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, that egg, it only took me 3 minutes to eat it. That egg was $1, not worth. Like, you're not gonna.
Like I know I get frustrated about this a lot. And I feel like there are indie developers, like whoever, I don't know, I should probably know who made it, but whoever made Post Void, like, clearly gets it. And I know there are indie developers doing it, but it is so far from the norm to make a short video game. And it's so frustrating because, like, the movie people got it. The movie people understand, like, people don't want to sit down for longer than 2 hours. Even if you have, like, a masterpiece, like, if you make a movie 3 hours, there's a lot of people who are going to look at that and be like, I don't care how good that movie is. I'm not going to watch a 3-hour movie. But game developers just have to cram shit in their games all the time. Johnny, here's my example. Like, every single frame, every side plot, every conversation in The Godfather is, like, perfect. It has to be in the movie. I don't have a specific criticism of The Last of Us 2, video game that cost $100 million to make, but there has to be some side quests, some side comments that could have been cut to make it a more concise and better game. But they won't do that because it seems like a more valuable game the more shit there is in it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the ultimate example would be like Skyrim. Like, not everything in Skyrim is the highest quality 10 out of 10 content. There's just like a shitload of content, and that's what makes Skyrim an interesting game. All right. Anyway, go play Post Void. It's great.
Okay. What'd you buy?
Johnny, Mike got Stadium events. How about that?
You didn't buy that.
I know, but that's cool. If you aren't listening to the cool. LJM podcast, Mike from the LJM podcast got Stadium events. Holy shit, whoa.
I said that's cool, and I retract that statement. It's not cool. I am happy for Mike. Stadium events sucks dick. Boo stadium events. But I'm glad that Mike got it. I think it's cool that he got it, and that's something he values. But I think stadium events is junky.
So I've been planning a YouTube video on stadium events for a while, like kind of half dunking on it. So I just want Mike to know that that's not going to be a response to him buying one. But basically, like, if you could buy just like a regular copy of Super Mario Brothers and not like the matchstick or earliest date code copy of Super Mario Brothers, and it's fine for your NES set, then you know what? It's fine to buy a world-class track meet and call it good for your NES set. So, I don't know.
Well, you've come a long way to say that. That's wild.
I have come such a long way. But yeah, it's the same game. Johnny, I'm a big time video game investor. You might know this. I dabble in the sealed games, and both of the games I bought are sealed video games this week.
Oh shit, this guy. He was in Get the Greg games and just fucking, he's going crazy.
It literally was. I was watching one of the Heritage Auction streams, which I don't do that often. But I wanted to talk to some people, and the Greg stream was on, and I was watching. I don't even remember what auction this was. Some random auction probably, and Super Tennis comes up. Johnny, I love Super Tennis. When I think of the Super Nintendo, like Super Tennis, like it's not going to be in like the Final Fantasy Super Mario World 2 like section, but like right below that, and like the really good games that aren't like these iconic, epic, like really long and high budget games. Super Tennis is a super good, like simple tennis game. It was the highest graded earliest print of Super Tennis. So there's two main variants of Super Tennis. One has an ESRB rating, one doesn't have an ESRB rating. I think this was a 9.8 A+ or something. and it sold for like $200. Like the literal top of the pop report, like best copy of Super Tennis you could possibly own went for $200. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. Super Tennis rules. And this is not a rare game sealed, but the ESRB copies are a lot more common than the non-ESRB copies. Even though the pop report, I think, is about the same for them. But whatever. Anyway, I went to eBay, and the cheapest copy of Super Tennis looks like it's in mint condition, and it's like $60 sealed. So I bought a sealed copy of Super Tennis, Johnny. Super Tennis rules.
You did it.
Super Tennis worth that complete in box. I don't care what you guys say. Play some Super Tennis.
You're the first person who's ever said that about Super Tennis to me.
How?
Hey.
It like this is why like I would have thought that like there's sometimes like those kind of bottom feeders who go on heritage auctions just kind of like click some random stuff just to make sure like stuff isn't going too low. Is Super Tennis not an iconic game? Am I like misremembering this?
I think
Super Tennis is a popular game.
I mean, maybe it is. I like also wouldn't have been a game I ever would have asked for as a kid. So
I feel so it's maybe I just had a different experience as a kid. It's the game where like who would have asked for this? Because like, yeah, you would have asked for like Mario, Final Fantasy. It's like not a game that you asked for. It's just an early game that because it came out so early in the Super Nintendo lifespan, like a lot of people just happen to have it. That just like happens. Like a lot of people had Pilot Wings just because like that was the game that you bought with the Super Nintendo.
I agree.
All right.
You know, I think games like I think Game Pass now exposes people to a lot more games that they wouldn't have otherwise played. But like when you're only getting like 3 or 4 games a year, like a fucking Super Tennis just isn't making the cut.
I'm on the Wikipedia article now because I'm like, I'm not crazy. Like Super Tennis rules, it apparently was included in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die, which is not a great book, but you know what? It's in that book.
It made it into a book.
Johnny, my other purchase was also a sealed video game. It was a safe search I've had for a long time. Johnny, the US PlayStation 2 version of Monster Hunter. So
you did it.
I sure did do it great. Monster Hunter is so late prints of this game are just like complete dirt sealed. So it's like a $30 game. I think like you can just go and click buy it now all day because there's so many copies of it. But the first print ones are like they don't come up all the time. So I've had a save search for the longest time because I'm just hoping for someone to fuck up and list the first print for the price of the dirt common later prints. And it finally happened. So I got a cheap copy of a first print Monster Hunter, one of the biggest Capcom franchises of all time. Whatever. I finally got someone to screw up on that. Great. That's my other purchase. Those are the only 2 games I bought. I'm a sealed investor now, Johnny.
You did it. Congratulations.
Anything else we got going on this show?
No, I think we did it, Tyler. I think we did the show.
All right. Very sexy show.
Very sexy. Was not sexy, actually. It is the reverse of that. A lot of this episode was. All right, that's it. We got more stuff coming, and then Tyler. Then you know what we're into? We're into like Halloween. It's coming. Fall is like going to be just around the corner. Halloween games are coming out. Woo! Excited.
Kids are going back to school. Maybe some of your parents will have some more free time. Yeah.
Yeah. All kids are all back in school. They're already there.
All right. I don't know. I remember going back to school in September, but now apparently
when I went. Yeah, like before when I went to school, it was like after Labor Day. Now it's before Labor Day, and kids get Labor Day off. It's like why bother? Anyways, that's it for the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to continue the conversation with us, you can do so by joining us on our Discord, which you can get to by being one of our patrons at the $2 level. If you want the bonus content, you can go at the $4 level. We put out some bonus episodes where we talk about, who knows, lots of random stuff. Anyways, you can find us at patreon.com/collectorsquest if you want to do that. We've had a great time talking to you, and thanks to everyone who supports us. That's it for this show. Tyler cannot be found on social media. He can only be found on our Discord. I am on Instagram, kind of been doing some dumb ass videos, and that's about it. Okay? That's where you can find us. Thanks for listening to the show. Bye.